Welcome guys to another day of Clash Royale League Asia. My name is Joseph, joined in with me is Simon, as always, and we're here for the very last day of this week, just to finish out what we have seen so far from Southeast Asia and Japan.
Yeah, it's been intense. Like, SEA have shown that they're not as weak as we probably thought they were. They've definitely taken the games to Japan, and that's really rare. Like, Korea got stomped, but SEA, they're throwing out this comeback. And it's been some intense games. 2v2 is amazing.
And what we've wanted kind of to ask the question about last week and this week, as we see the Japan region face off against two different regions with Korea last week and Southeast Asia this week, we want to ask the question, since Japan was so dominative over the last week and over Korea, and if we could see that again between them and Southeast Asia, it's just harder to tell to compare the other two regions with Korea and Southeast Asia on the line. But what we have here is Southeast Asia performing a lot better than what Korea did against the Japanese team. So what does that tell you about the current power standing when it comes to the two regions clashing right now?
I'd say that Japan is still slightly ahead, especially in terms of 1v1. But in 2v2, SEA have proven that they're like some of the best 2v2 players we've seen. They know exactly when to pull the trigger and go all in. Unlike maybe the Japanese region, especially the Korean region, they don't pull the trigger as early as SEA does and as effective.
And we're still looking at this, but can we ask the question now of, is it fair to say, with Korea not having done so well against Japan and SEA already showing its form and looking like to get a few more wins here today, can we just say right now that Southeast Asia might be a little bit better than Korea?
I think so. I think that's perfectly fair to say, but it's the styles of play. I think Japan and Korea were very similar, whereas SEA are very opposed to the two. They play a very different style of Clash Royale. And because of that, I think maybe SEA will have a very strong hand over Korea, but it's on Korean territory. So maybe that will be the advantage that will push Korea ahead.
And that will be next week's matches when we do get that on. Today we'll be concluding the action between Southeast Asia and Japan. You'll get today's matchup, as you see, FOV Gaming and HQ Esports for the first match. And the second match will be around Destination Gaming and Kicks. And that just means that after these two matches, we'll get the conclusion of where we stand between these two regions of Southeast Asia and Japan, how we see the comparisons in the power trading, and what we could expect from that next week when we do have Southeast Asia and Korea as well.
Yeah, but today's games are very much the middle of the pack games. Maybe FAV Gaming, who are currently in 4th place, are the stronger team out of today, but everyone else is very close together. We have AHQ Esports in 9th, Detonation Gaming in 8th, Kicks at 6th, and FAV Gaming at 4th. So, I mean, this is very, very close in terms of positioning on the standings right now.
And we only do have last two matches to decide kind of what we are looking at throughout the season with, we do get an indication of, Japanese teams, they are pretty strong, and when they go up against each other, it's a little more evenly matched. And when we do see the other regions, we do have clearly the top favorites out of the respective regions. When we're talking about Southeast Asia, being the Brand Esports, we thought they were the best team by clearly above the rest of the competition. And with Korea, we had Kingdom Dragon X, and that kind of reminded us that this team might just take it through and show a little bit better for Korea. But what we're getting here is that when we get the regional clashes going, when we get the conference division, when different region plays against each other, what we get as a conclusion is that we do get a level of difference when it comes to the overall region power rankings.
Yeah, I'd say, I mean, it's hard to say because we haven't seen the meta of Korea versus the meta of SEA yet because, as I said, they're very different styles. So maybe the Korean style will beat out SEA style next week, but to be honest, Korea is not looking particularly healthy right now. I think SEA will dominate next week.
And as we can see, if can they do that, because we're gonna get through the last two matches of today, and we'll get to next week to really find that out for us, Simon. And we're gonna probably just get onto the matches for today's very soon, because Japan, I'm sure they want to finish off strong and look as dominating as ever. We talked about them during the interviews that a win is not good enough for them. The win with a little bit more dominance, a little more significance of kind of we dominated them and we kind of had them under our ropes and we knew exactly what we were doing and kind of made the opponents look bad. That is their objective when they play each game of Clash Royale, and we've seen Japan being in that strong force against Korea last week, but not so much in what we saw out of this week against Southeast Asia. So maybe the last two matches that we'll have today throughout this day could really show us what Japan is all made of.
But I think SEA teams are going to come into this like, well, we made the beast of Japan bleed yesterday. Let's do it again. Let's finish off strong. And I think they will tie the series if they win today's two games. So there is a very strong possibility here that Japan and Southeast Asia will be very equal today. And I think it is possible. As we see on the screen, we see Fav Gaming giving us all those waves, not looking particularly happy. Usually they're very jokey at this point.
Fav Gaming, of course, a team that we've been looking at from Japan, has been looking good in some of their matches, but has disappointed at awkward moments, and going to be facing off against AHQ Esports today. We see Kang Shi with Yao Yao, Shake, and Jerry Sung composing those four members into this team today. Get the heart going as well. A little more smiles on this team, and as I see, kind of continue on from what we saw of yesterday's matches from the SEA versus Japan, with SEA winning more than they actually lost. They want to kind of just continue on with this momentum and probably just think that they can just get their two wins that are basically on the tracks here.
Yeah, and if they do, next week is going to be explosive. I can imagine the Korean team sitting down and going, oh dear, what are we going to do against this? Because we got manhandled by Japan. SEA are tied with Japan. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, they're going to have to go back to the drawing boards. And maybe they thought what we kind of thought at the beginning, that the Southeast Asian region wasn't there wasn't as much depth in the skill, but they've shown there is, and it's intense.
It's been about the all-ins, especially from 2v2s, when we see that one lane investment go fully into Hammond. And we've seen that before from 1v1 and 2v2, but once you play that correctly, it is strong enough to beat even the Japanese team. And Fav Gaming is looking to be a team that wants to stop this little mishaps that has been happening in yesterday's games. They want to just grab a win here.
Yeah, as we see on the screen, we have Danny for Fav Gaming, a new player on the team, hasn't played any games. I think he was just picked up, actually. Favorite cards are the Lava Hound, and I think he said his favorite deck, I need to find the paper again, but he said his favorite deck was Lava Hound Balloon. Okay,
Lava Loon combo, we've seen that many times. Definitely is viable in 1v1 matches as well. Also looking at Kangshi here. He's a player that we've been looking at for HQ. Has been troubled at times, of course, but wants to get back on track and hope to get some more wins on the board here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find my my sheet for the new guy, Danny, but I can't find it. It's under here somewhere. But he has actually played a decent amount on stage. I think he was top 4 in last year's Clash Royale Crown Championship Global Series career. But the ban cards are out, and we see a Tornado ban for Danny, an Expo ban for Kangshi.
Expo ban coming from Kangshi means that maybe Danny has a hidden retrospective of having used Expo pretty effectively there. Could really see that, but Danny just a little more obviously conventional in the way he picked out the Tornado. It's very much a viable ban in 1v1s, more so in 2v2s, but gonna see it in 1v1 here as Danny feels like the Tornado, without that, he thinks like he has a good chance to beat up his first open.
Yeah, usually when we see the Tornado ban, it means we're going to see Miner, maybe Hog Rider, things that can easily be pulled onto the Crown Tower. If you're playing those type of decks, then you get rid of the Tornado, but it also allows him to use Lava Hound Balloon, because a Tornado against a Lava Hound Balloon can actually just completely nullify your push.
Yeah.
So maybe he is planning on bringing that forward today, and banning the Tornado allows him to do it a lot more comfortably.
Okay, we're going to get about 3 minutes. Of course, we're getting ready to for the players to compose their decks and to make sure they are ready to go. And it's really important for Kangshi and for his most preferred deck here with the Golem. Of course, we do have a mix of that in 1v1 and also 2v2 as well, but Golem along with a lot of cycle cards, just essential defense and kind of supplement a push there as well.
Yeah, interesting that he has Clone Spell in there in his most used deck. Like, Golem with Clone is very interesting because the explosion damage of the Golems is a lot, plus it adds just a few more bodies in front of the tower, and that's kind of what you need when you play a Golem deck, because usually you have a massive force behind those Golems.
That's what we're going to see, and what can we expect from Donnie, of course, a new player for FOV Gaming. They have been on a good streak, the entire Japanese teams, but have become to slow down just a little bit in this second week of Conference Division. What could we could expect from them versus AHQ here with FOV Gaming. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, FOV Gaming today have the chance to tie up with Ponos Sports at 5-2. But if AHQ win today, like they won yesterday, we were talking, me and G-Clef, about how the team with 0 wins does seem to manage to beat at least one of the Japanese teams. We had Sandbox last week, AHQ Esports this week. Are they going to be able to win again? They've got to be feeling good after taking their first victory in this competition.
And we're going to remind ourselves that Sandbox was the first and the only team from Korea to beat Japan in that whole week of series. And seeing HQ, they fought back themselves as well, which is probably indicating why they're so happy about their current situation, thinking that they can continue on this streak, get more wins, and if they can do it against the Japanese teams, I would just make it extra happier on that occasion.
Yeah, you got to look at the standings at this point. Like, we've started to see, this is about the halfway point of the league. And the league is coming together quite nicely, and it's not looking good for Korea at all. Like, they're taking 3 spots out the bottom half, with Kingzone being the only one who's above. And they only won games against other Korean teams. So it's got to be looking bad for the Korean region. But SEA region, they're half and half. They have Bren Esports in 2nd, they have Kicks in 6th, and then 9th and 10th is AHQ and Chaos Theory. But AHQ can pull away from Chaos Theory today, giving themselves 2 wins, actually joining up with Detonation Gaming at 2 and 4.
Okay, so that'd be interesting. Detonation Gaming, of course, every Japanese team wants to do well with their top priorities on the line, but you got some of the Japanese that will lose to each other, so Detonation Gaming in that instance have been suffering a lot more losses than their counterparts, but gotta look at this game here because the timer just did go off, meaning that this first game will probably be going underway soon.
Yeah, I think we're just getting ready. Players making sure their headsets are comfortable, the earphones underneath are secure, playing the actual sounds of the game they need. And I think they're just about to get into this game here.
That's what makes this interesting because FOV Gaming can continue on this streak to show the resilience of Japan as a whole, but we could see HQ pull up another miracle where they beat another Japanese team with FOV Gaming.
Yeah, but we're into the game. We have FOV Gaming's Danny in blue at the bottom and AHQ Kangxi in red at the top of the screen. Nothing being played yet. Do you think we're going to be waiting for that double elixir mark? Oh, maybe not.
Didn't even need to answer that. Seems like Kangxi was ready to go on that one. Not going to stall the time all the way down to a minute. Of course, that's the double elixir mark where usually the...
Interesting log there. I guess he was doing it for cycle because there was nothing in the way, and if he was preparing something, it doesn't feel right, Like throwing out that predictive log when there's only an ice golem there against 2 guards.
Yeah, and we also see the bandit being summoned by Donnie, but has been countered by a Goblin Hunt. I feel like the Goblin Hunt is kind of a counter against when it talks about the bandit can rush into each goblin that's being summoned, then summon right, dash right to the hut, and when you can know that, then that the Goblin Hut's not going to stay alive for a long time.
Yeah, so we have a charge deck here for Danny. There's the Dark Prince. I'm expecting to see a Prince as well. This deck is actually really good against spawner decks like this because, as you said, the bandit can charge between the golem spawns and then he's right on top of the tower, right on top of the hut, and she does so much damage when she charges.
Let's see, trying to get some damage done, but has been halted again by the Goblin Hut coming through from defense for Kangxi.
There's the battering ram coming in. Is there going to be anything here to support it? The Electro Wizard will stop it from getting that charge damage. Fireball comes in to try and take that out, but a couple of shocks, and the Ice Golem actually just pulling that Barbarian a million miles away from where he needs to be.
Gonna have to eventually go back on attacking duties, but will not have much HP to suffice for it.
Ooh, Graveyard here for Kangxi. Potential to do a lot of damage, especially with that poison being thrown down as well, dealing a lot of damage to that tower.
But we know how that Dark Prince can do a lot of defensive duties, just knocking off multiple skeletons at a time. Look at the left side here, trying to see what they can do with this, because we're still looking at the Infernal Dragon just being halted in its tracks. Such defense is coming in, but can we get more defense out of this?
Danny is struggling really to connect with these towers right now. But Kangxi himself has only managed to really connect on the tower one time.
He's going to go all in here, trying to summon all 10 elixirs at once. You see the Battle Ram along with the Dark Prince and the Bandit. So really all or nothing here, but does get halted. Yeah, halted
he gets
quite
nothing.
easily.
Going all or nothing and getting nothing is very, very bad for Danny here. However, he does have a chance to reset, bring it down, play it one more time, and hope for the best.
Really, that Goblin HUD is doing such a good job of just soaking up all the damage that will come from all these charges coming in. But
yeah. Did you see that? The Dark Prince then was stopping the battering ram from going towards the Goblin HUD. The battering ram was trying to turn, and the Dark Prince was just keeping him going in a straight line.
All right. It's an interesting play there. Trying to make sure the Battle Ram has only one objective, and that is towards the tower.
Yeah, the Inferno Dragon does get another 100 damage off, but look how low that bottom right-hand tower is getting with just the damage from the Spear Goblins. And now incoming Graveyard, and he hasn't put anything down to defend it. That tower is going down so quickly.
We're not going to see the Ice Golem being able to stop all the skeletons coming from the Graveyard, and we're going to get it down to 229, so...
Yeah, unfortunately, he doesn't have much that can in the way of spells to take it out, but now it is in range of that poison damage.
Okay, so the poison's going to get it at least very, very close. We're going to get the indication that the game will be over, and actually, with that poison, it's going to be able to finish it off. So that Graveyard, after everything has been invested from Donnie onto the left side, the right side was freed open when he can get that poison up, and the Graveyard to make sure that skeletons, when they comes out of the grave, do a good job of putting the damage on.
Yeah, I think he should have maybe played a little bit more defensive, but time was coming. He couldn't sit back and defend too much because he needed to push and he could be chipped down by the poison.
Yeah.
So he was in a very, very tough spot there. I imagine he's going to try and change it up a little bit here because he didn't look very good in that game.
Donnie has been trying multiple things of trying to get the dash, and when all the dash has been compensated for by the defense coming from Kangxi, just means that you have nothing really else to do when you have kind of your primary target of an attacking force being the rush attacks and all the charge that comes from the Prince and talk about the Bandit and also the Battle Ram, name it. But if it doesn't work, there's nothing else that Donnie can do to try to do damage onto the opponent's turret.
Yeah, the Dark Prince connected a few times, the Inferno Dragon connected, but he was usually very low when he connected. So he could never really get the overwhelming damage that we usually see from a charge deck with Dark Prince and Prince. We didn't see a Prince from him, actually.
Yeah, okay.
So the Prince there might have turned the tide a little bit, but he was holding on to one card that I don't think we got to see.
Sure.
So maybe that was the Prince, he just never felt like he needed it.
That would absolutely just complete out the typical charge deck we like to see. But Donnie, like you said, that game one didn't really go for it. He did not really have much options to really go for the offensive strike here. Does that mean that Donnie, this new player for FAV Gaming, is going to switch things up and try to go with a little bit of different deck to hopefully get him a win right back into game two?
Which we're getting into right now. Game two is about to start. Will Danny be able to bring it back, or will Kangxi close this one out?
Let's see what happens here, because game is underway. Still get Donnie on the bottom side for FAV Gaming, and Kangxi's going to be on top. Another structure being used. This time the Furnace Hut.
Furnace versus Goblin Hut. Who wins? Usually the Furnace, I think.
Yeah, if you put a fireball right there, it just helps that win a little bit more.
Yeah, but there's the log coming in. Could have been timed a little bit better, maybe? No, it was actually good timing. I think he managed to hit the spawn of the fire spirits there.
Let's see the Goblin Gang just trying to defend out against the other Goblin Gang that was trying to give me. Going for the attack for Kangxi. Another Goblin Gang.
Incoming Goblin Gang. He does have the mirror in his deck, actually. Kang Shi with the mirror play. We don't get to see that much. There are the arrows clearing up all that elixir that was down there for Danny. Danny now is looking in a very, very bad spot.
Okay, we were looking at this as Goblin Gang came right after the other Goblin Gang died, so we kind of suspected that was a mirror, and definitely was so, but what else we're going to see here? Because once again, Danny's cards seems to have been countered quite a bit, because even looking at that mini horde, 5 elixirs, and it can just be wiped away by that arrow. 3 elixir use. For the spell card, we don't see much in the competitor decks here.
There's 3 Musketeers. That is a card we do see a lot in competitive. But is it going to be enough to break through? There's a Fireball which just wipes them out. Game over. It's very hard now for Danny to pull this back.
Tournament level. Obviously, Fireball does enough damage to wipe out any Musketeers. So
I think that was the mirrored Fireball to finish him off. Usually, don't 3 Musketeers have a slither of health after a Fireball?
It's hard to tell, because we only saw 1 Fireball being used, but could check up on that again. So we see once again a charge composition being used. Trying to get that battle ram in, but it becomes increasingly difficult when the Goblin Gang is right there to attack it.
Yeah, there was good positioning on that Goblin Gang so that the Goblins were quite spread out by the time the P.E.K.K.A. gets near.
Okay, so you're right. I think that Fireball was a clone one last time around that allowed that to come in, destroying one of the Musketeers. But this time around, the Musketeers are having a hard time trying to get to their locations and what they do. So, Ice Golem doing a very good job of luring the P.E.K.K.A. away for the defense.
Yeah, unfortunately that Goblin is going to ruin that, but the other Goblin being spawned there will hopefully clear it up. Yeah, it doesn't even get anywhere near the tower. But it is looking very rough here once again for Danny. His tower is down to 1,200, 1,000. The Goblin Gang, the Goblin Barrel does connect as well. There's a Fireball. That tower is getting dangerously low.
552 is what he has to hold on to. 180 seconds of play. So that means that 3 minutes. Can he hold on? Because the P.E.K.K.A. is being summoned on the left side and a lot of distractions. Gonna be allowing the rest of the Kangxi support to make sure they go for the attack here.
Yeah, we see arrows come in there. Perfectly taking out that minion horde. Plays his own minion horde here. If that connects to the tower, that's going to be game over.
Okay, Goblin Barrel does connect that time around, but you see the mini horde just trying to take away the aggro.
P.E.K.K.A. gets 1 hit on the bottom left-hand tower. This is all going wrong for Danny.
Danny, I don't think he's going to be able to go for much of a win here unless he just goes for a tie, but he needs to hold out for 2 more minutes in order to get there here.
There's a Fireball. What are we going to see? P.E.K.K.A. What are we going to see? Mirror again. I think he likes to use the mirror on things like Goblin Gang, just so that it's low elixir cost, but it's just so big in numbers. There's the log. We'll see another one. The mirror actually would be a really good choice now. There we go. There was the mirror. And takes it out with the arrows, predicting it. That is game over. Kang Shi. Wow.
So you see that Goblin Barrel in the end, cloned with another Goblin Barrel, but knowing that the only defense that Donnie had left over was going to be the Goblin Gang, try to just chip it out over time. Throws the arrows with it. Yeah. And after that happens, the Goblin Gang is going to be of no use, and that Goblin Barrel, once those 3 Goblins speed and summon out of that barrel, is going to have some free time with that tower to finish it off.
Yeah, I think even without the arrows, he still would have got it down because he played the Goblins at the front of the tower, and the Goblin Gang was played around the back. So you know how we usually get the 3 separated. If that had have happened, they would have died instantly.
Yeah.
Plays it at the front. I think it would have knocked it down to Fireball range anyway. I think it was game over. Danny never really could build up an attack that dealt damage, and he never looked dangerous. You know what I mean?
He never really had a momentum to really build up upon. That's the biggest problem I saw from Danny, and you talked about what he had to do on his first game here at Clash Royale League Asia, being the new player for FOV Gaming. He needed to set a mark. He needed to make a statement there, but that was the one that really underwhelmed him for that occasion today.
Yeah, he hasn't given us the best first impression. Every one of his attacks failed.
It did.
I would say. And because of that, will he be picked again next? I'm sure he'll be picked again next week, right? Well, not next week. Week after, right?
A week after, yeah, of course.
Week after. But he really needs to work on having a bit more oomph to his attacks because every deck he bought today was perfectly countered by Kangxi. And I want to say Kangxi played flawlessly. His execution of his decks was perfect.
He did have that really nice composition talking about the countering of the decks here. We talked about Kangxi. Really had all the counters to what Donnie brought out, and even in this is I think the first game here, yeah, and when we see the charge deck trying to work out for Donnie and did not really do much because every offensive effort was going to be blocked up by Kangxi. You see that last bit right here. The double was going to be prepared because just saving up that 6 elixirs to make sure they're ready to go.
See, they come at the front. They would have got 1 or 2 hits off anyway, and the fireball was coming up behind them. So even if he didn't arrow, he still would have had that game.
Probably. And it was a matter of time because Kangxi was consistently winning. Just a bit by bit, just chipping away the damage, and eventually at overtime, if he kept up with that trend, he was eventually going to come out with a win. But especially for Donnie, he never really had a form where we felt like if he turns around something right here, then he might just really get the win. But we never really saw a glimpse of that.
Yeah, the momentum was always on Kangxi's favor. Just completely played Danny out of that game. But we are down into our 2v2 match. We have Fav Gaming's Vrad with 8 wins and 2 losses in 2v2. He is an exceptionally strong 2v2 player.
Let's see what they do here. Rod is going to be with Yakitori, trying to be that kind of lifesavers for Fav Gaming in this occasion. Really, the trend has been all for Japan as a whole. Not just really Fav Gaming, but in the entire Japan. They were expected to win out every game and just show once again they are the strongest region in the tournament, and they wanted to do that. But yesterday's games, especially when I was missing, obviously, with Simon and G-Cliff, they were covering the action. We saw Southeast Asia really putting it together and really knowing that they can actually beat the Japanese teams with a little more ease than what we thought.
Yeah, and AHQ now have the momentum after winning that one game and winning set 1 today. They're keeping that momentum going. They're going to build on what they've done so far. They've taken a match off a Japanese team. It's looking like they're going to take a match again off a Japanese team because AHQ Esports 2v2 has been shown yesterday. They were dominant in 2v2.
And that's what really your praise came from. Simon, you talked about yesterday's games being mostly about the 2v2s, and that's where most of the difference did occur. We're talking about Southeast Asia, who have been dominant in the way they progress themselves in the 2v2. Of course, being characteristic of their all-in playstyles has worked very well yesterday in their wins over Japan. Let's see if they can do it again with HQ.
Yeah, we see the bans up on the screen. Fav Gaming's Vrad and Yakitori ban out the Tornado. And AHQ, Yao Yao and Jacque ban out the Poison. Very interesting to ban out the Poison. We haven't really seen it all too much of a ban, but it is still a great ban.
I just feel like it's basically the #1 spell and the #2 spell that is available in terms of just 2v2 rushes when we talk about that one side can be just totally clamped up with everything you want. And Tornado, we obviously know that, in and out. Now we just see that's the top priority for any types of bans available. You just lure all that units in and try to just get all the damage to a turret and try to make sure you have a supplemental unit that can do all the damage to the area effect. It really just shows how strong the Tornado can be. But Poison, I feel like it serves a similar purpose with to a wide radius, damage over time, and we see a lot of units are not really fast-moving units anymore. It's more about constantly getting to where you want to be, but it does take time to get there. So Poison, if you have that same amount of radius for an extended period of time, we can see that do a lot of defensive efforts, and you can see it banned here.
Yeah, banning Poison also opens up the Graveyard decks because the Poison is pretty much a hard counter to a Graveyard. It also opens up Miner decks because your Miner won't get knocked down. You can throw him in front of a push that's coming in, the tower locks onto the push in front, the Miner will take it out behind. Usually you'll Poison that and it goes down much quicker than usual.
Yeah. Talk about that Graveyard. You could use it. You could use a Poison with it offensively. We've seen that kind of a reverse thinking of that when talking about Graveyard being summoned and any little pesky units on the defense trying to just stop those little skeletons. You can have the Poison right above that, and we've seen that being played many, many times where if you summon that 9 elixir, that full combo with the Graveyard and the Poison on the offensive end, sometimes we did see the opposing player have a hard time defending that.
Yeah, that's because usually the cards with the most number. That's what you want against Graveyard, is cards with number. So goblins, spear goblins, goblin gang, bats, minion horde. They deal with Graveyard incredibly well.
Yeah.
The poison will just take them out instantly.
Literally. So a lot of cards being opened up, obviously, for this occasion of 2v2. HQ coming off their win on that 1v1, and more importantly, coming off their series win from yesterday. Could mean that just want to keep this momentum going. They came with smiles today, came with the little hearts drawn with their hands, and just could mean that FAV Gaming looking like they're having a, I would have to say, mixed expectations about today's games. It's not really like yesterday where they just expected to win every single game that was presented to them, but it feels like after those losses that came through with multiple Japanese teams, FAV Gaming is feeling the pressure and feels like they have to exert that extra force in order to get the win against HQ.
And they really do. Like, they're down one set coming into a 2v2 against SEA, who've proven that their 2v2 is really good. Because we've seen a lot of games go to the third set with the ace match, mainly because SEA have been pulling out the wins in that 2v2.
Yeah. And now they won the 1v1.
And now they won the 1v1. So if they win the 2v2, it's lights out for FAV Gaming. FAV Gaming will go 4-3.
Of course, it's interesting to say that we sometimes expect that the Japanese teams will outdo their Southeast Asian counterparts, especially in 1v1s, but 2v2s. Now we're getting to a state of mind that SEA can be expected to win over Japan, maybe every single time.
Not every single time, but most of the time they have won their 2v2s. I mean, there are a few of the Japanese teams who do have an incredible 2v2 matchup. For example, Game With's 2v2, and Ponos Sports 2v2 is usually very good, but I think they lost yesterday.
Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying, because the Ponos Sports, one of the better teams right now, just overall in 1v1 and 2v2, and their 2v2 wasn't a slouch. Losing to a Southeast Asian team could really indicate the power level the teams here in the Southeast Asian region have, at least in the 2v2.
Yeah, and we're into set 2, game 1. FAV Gaming's Red and Yakitori in blue, AHQ Esports, Yao Yao and Jacquet in red at the top. And we see the Lava Hounds come down. Both teams going Lava Hound here.
Japan and Southeast Asia going for that Lava Hound here. You see the Baby Dragon for the side of FAV Gaming, trying to go for the additional push.
And there's the balloon.
Lava balloon.
Oh, and a clone. Is that? I couldn't see who got the clone there. I think both cloned. No?
No. It was from the HQ side, because no, actually it was. Wait.
I'm really struggling to see who cloned who. I think it was.
Was it both?
I think, yeah, it might have been. I think it was AHQ actually who cloned, because there were 2 Inferno Dragons at that time.
Wow.
And so much damage being done in that push. Already taking down one tower. Looking like they're going to take down this King Tower.
Uh-oh.
Whoa!
What? It's done.
What?
No, it's done.
What?
One more spell.
There we go. There's a rocket
ceremony.
What? What just happened?
How long did it take, guys?
It took just over a minute. 1 minute and
did it take
5
a minute?
seconds.
Did it take a minute?
It did take a minute. 1 minute, 5 seconds. That is the quickest game we have seen.
Ever?
I would say ever.
In competitive.
That was over far too quickly. Wow. We were talking about how SEA have dominant 2v2, but we were not expecting it to be that dominant, and FAV Gaming obviously called a timeout.
If there was a time needed for timeout, if there was a moment that where the timeout was needed, it's this one.
What?
I will call a timeout here. You know, just for myself, because I need a timeout to really just relish over what just happened.
So what we had was a Lava Hound, a Inferno Dragon, Night Witch, cloned, and then just pushed forward.
Yeah, let's talk about what we had on offense for the side of FAV Gaming when they presented that. They got the Lava Hound, and obviously the balloon came right at the end. So initially the Infernal Dragon on the defense came to target the Lava Hound. Then the clone went up. So it summoned the Infernal Dragon again.
There wasn't an Inferno Dragon on defense at that point.
There was.
It was Baby Dragon.
No, but I'm talking about for the side of AHQ.
Oh, AHQ, yeah.
AHQ had an Infernal Dragon to guard, to try to melt down the Lava Hound coming from FAV Gaming, but there was also a balloon to deal with. because we knew that 5 Gaming summoned their balloon in addition to the Lava Hound to push that forward and try to get some sneak drops. But the clone came through on defense for AHQ, and it's duplicated the Infernal Dragon. So while one initially was targeting the Lava Hound and was kind of melting that down, the cloned one was right there in position to target the balloon.
Yeah, and the clone Night Witch as well. The bats from the clone Night Witch.
That's a different story. So what I'm saying is, from that alone, we had literally Lava Hound and a balloon, 12 elixir used, melted down. There was nothing there to stop it. And after that, we knew that the Infernal Dragon that initially got the Lava Hound in the first place stayed alive, pushed through. The witch and the little bats that summoned, of course, with the duplicated witch and all these crazy things that happened, just melted down. And there was nothing to stop that second Infernal Dragon.
Yeah, it was an intense push, and there was a lot of elixir expended on both sides.
Sure.
And I think if Fav Gaming held on to a little bit of elixir for maybe an arrow or a fireball, we would have been looking at a very different match.
Was that balloon really necessary, though? I mean, at the very beginning of the match, it's not even a double elixir situation when you have already summoned a Lava Hound, and you feel like you have to do a Lava Loon combo at the very first push of the game. And we saw that initially AHQ was holding on to theirs mostly for defensive, but the only offense was really on the Lava Hound. And the Wit, maybe the Night Witch came through, and some of the bats that could help with it, but the primary attack did come from the Lava Hound, and everything else was just for defense. And I feel like HK had the right mindset to go with it. 5 Gaming, they just went all in on the very first moments of the game, and here we are. After, I don't know, 2 minutes after that first game, we're already on to the second game.
Yeah, I mean, you always do want to play a Lava Hound and then the balloon once it reaches the bridge, because that's the whole Lava Balloon deck, right?
But I feel like it's more viable when you're not giving up your defense in trade of that Lava Loon combo. That's why I feel like it's more viable when it's the double elixir moment.
But they would have defended really easily if it wasn't for that clutch clone spell. I feel like their defense would have been a lot better if it wasn't for the clone spell. But let's talk about game number 2 here. We have seen the Giant Skeleton come out. We see Night Witch. We see Lava Hound. There's a Rage Potion. We don't see that usually much. And they are using their own clone this time.
Oh, they're mad. They're quite mad. They
didn't quite have the same effect as game 1.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. Just because you use a clone doesn't magically win you the game, guys. Come on, 5 Gaming. Use the clone right above the tombstone and the rage. What was that?
I could see it could have worked if there wasn't an Executioner there, because that Executioner just takes down those clones far too easily. And I think AHQ had a much better read on the game last time of where the elixir went. Fav Gaming just thought, let's do it. Let's just go for it. Let's see what we do.
Speaking of all-ins, double Lava Hound. This early in this game, we saw 1 minute and 30 seconds before we get to overtime, but wow, this is going to be interesting.
Yeah, the Execution is out again. That stops any kind of clone play unless they rocket it like this.
Okay.
Didn't hit the tower at all, though. Just went for that Executioner. Yeah. And then another Executioner comes down. There is a Rage Potion there. Skeletons come in. Those Skeletons are going to do so much damage. Nope. Oh, they did. They did actually quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, 288.
But the Executioner's axe took them out quickly. These Lava Pups are going to finish that tower.
Yeah.
So Fav Gaming have stabilized now, but this Giant Skeleton is going to come forward. There isn't much to stop. They have to use the guards placed in AHQ's side just to keep him away from their towers.
You see that everything is being summoned right now from AHQ just to make sure the Infernal Dragon does not go for the Giant Skeleton, but eventually it did get there.
It is very rare that we see the normal Witch in professional play, but look at that Miner on the bottom left. He's been left alone.
Infernal Dragon, though. Infernal Dragon on the left.
He's on the King Tower.
Yeah, it's on the King's Tower.
Does get frozen.
Okay.
Summons the Mega Minions to start taking that, but there is a Rage Potion down. Lava Hounds, they did clone properly this time. Dude, so much damage. This time, their clone Rage Potion did actually work out. 761 on that tower, so even if they lose that bottom left-hand tower, they have a massive advantage going forward. Miner, Rocket will take out that tower, so they only have 761 damage now to take this game.
If they pull out this one, HQ, this would be absolutely incredible. Double Lava Hound just trying to make him lose all his hope. Talking about trying to finish out the game in 761.
As well. Does get pulled by that tombstone.
That rage. Nothing that can stop it, even with the rocket, to make sure everything goes right in 5 Gaming. They felt like game 1 was a fluke. Game 2, they can bring it right back, and here at going on to game 3 very, very soon here.
Yeah, game 2 there felt like Fav Gaming were like, anything you can do, we can do a little bit better. And although it didn't work out in that first push we saw, their second push, their third push was just much better.
Another timeout, by the way. Just being called by HQ. This is a fiesta, if I could call one. Really, the game 1 of that 2v2 set definitely did not go the way of Fav Gaming, and out of all the surprises, really surprising these young kids' hearts, had to call a timeout from Fav Gaming and just acted like as if game 1 never really happened, and really wins out game 2 relatively easily. Now HQ has to call a timeout.
Yeah, I think they just need to calm down their players. They did play incredibly well. Again, in that 2v2, it was very back and forth. But that double Lava Hound, Rage, Clone, Inferno Dragon push was just... It was just overwhelming, I feel.
And I feel like HQ had the hardest time dealing with mostly the double Lava Hound.
Mm-hmm.
When the double Lava Hound was summoned, and we usually like to see the Inferno Dragon just melting one at a time, and he kind of went for the Executioner to hopefully take care of that mess. Didn't really happen there, and even the Executioner was being wiped away by the rockets coming in from Fav, and also even the Fireball helping a little bit out with that. Just going to show that Executioner does not really kill a Lava Hound very effectively.
No, it doesn't take it down quickly, but it does deal very quickly with the pups if it has the right angle.
But when your Lava Hound has already dealt more than 1,000 damage, while the Executioner just trying to swipe it away with the swinging axe, we know that's not going to be the answer to go with on a forward run here.
Yeah, one of the best moves I think I saw Fav Gaming do then was throwing out that rocket to take out the Executioner without connecting with the tower. They realized that this Executioner is bad news bears for our push.
Yeah.
Let's just rocket him. It's not the best of trades, but we need that Executioner down and out.
Keeping that Lava Hound alive, and that's kind of what they've been wanting here from Fav Gaming, and they got that done. That various times they used the double Lava Hound push. Seen it work to perfection there against AHQ. Does have one more game left. It is very important to know that AHQ, if they win this next one here, it's over, and we don't really need to go to ace match. And Fav Gaming, that just means they have to work that much harder to at least bring it back to the ace match by winning this game here.
Yeah, let's see if there's any more clone shenanigans in this game, because both teams made it work in at least one of these games, so maybe we'll see it again. Maybe AHQ are going to get that perfect cycle at the start and just take a tower within a minute. Or will Fav Gaming actually get their perfect hand and just dominate the game again in a minute? Maybe that's possible, but Fav Gaming don't have that explosive power that AHQ Esports showed. And we are in to game 3 of set 2. Winner of this decides the fate of this match.
It really does. If we do see Fav Gaming winning this one out, the game will extend over to the third set, which is going to be basically the ace match 1v1.
Oh dear, this is the same push we had from AHQ last time that just destroyed the rest of the game. Night Witch, Lava Hound, there's the Inferno Dragon, there's the Lumberjack, there's another Inferno Dragon, there's the clone! So much damage here! Will they be able to hold it this time? Is this going to be a repeat of game number 1?
Okay, but the Rage coming on multiple ends here, and Lava Hound just destroyed. Nothing you can do here.
Yeah, it does deal with it, but look how much damage has been done to that bottom left-hand tower from that skeleton balloon. So much damage being done. And there's still a lot here in defense for AHQ. They don't need to spend again. They're ready. They're going to reload that push and try one more time.
They can do that because we're back to even now in terms of units being summoned. They get that Lava Hound back, and I'm going to see the Lava Hound coming from Fav Gaming. They're going to just go for defense first. They're coming with the Inferno Dragon, but kind of with the Lava Hound right in front here. Double Lava Hound this time.
There's another Lava Hound there. There's a Night Witch underneath there somewhere as well. Fav Gaming used their own clone here to defend. Usually you want to see that clone on the attack.
Okay, we're seeing it here and trying to just go for that. And 1592 to 1507 down to 1457 for the side of Fav Gaming in their tower, but got their opponent's tower down to 1622. See how this trade has been going on.
This is very back and forth right now, but those double witches at the back have been doing so much work. But even the Clone Witch just summoning skeletons and taking names in the other side. But this is now dangerous for AHQ Esports. That Lava Hound will connect to the tower. There is a Rage drop there. The Inferno Dragon is defending. Arrows come in to help defend. There's the Clone on the offense. Will this be enough? The Arrows maybe should have waited just that little bit longer. There's another Inferno Dragon on the defense. There's the Executioner. We'll clear this up very, very nicely.
Okay, but that Executioner did go down, almost nearly went down, and just means that they got a little bit of Elixir trade off of that off gaming, and we push strong here once again.
Lava Hounds drop, double Lava Hounds. There's the Bats, there's the Night Witch, there's a Witch. So much damage, but look at that top left-hand side tower going down. 1,066, still going down. There's a Fireball
and
a Clone. That's going to deal so much damage here.
Okay, the arrow very nicely done to make sure that clone units don't become as effective, but still we're looking at the Lava Hound not done pushing quite yet.
There's
and that's going to be the rocket to finish it on. Five Gaming is going to take us to an ace match.
Five Gaming there just showed that they have a bit of a stronger mechanics than AHQ. Sure, they lost game 1 in super convincing fashion, but game 2 and game 3 they showed like, okay, now we know what you're going to do. Let's do something else.
Really important to see how they do, and now we're on to the ace match. The game isn't quite over yet between Five Gaming and AHQ. We do have a lot of exciting back and forth action so far because 1v1 did go over to AHQ. A little bit more surprising because we thought the Japanese players generally were a little bit better than the Southeast Asian counterpart, but we were proven wrong. That first occasion with 2v2, it really went the other way around. We thought Southeast Asia just might pull a trick and really just show who is boss at these 2v2 matches, but do lose out in a 3-set intervals.
Yeah, that game 1 is just a masterclass of how things can go wrong and just, you know, how it just keeps building up. It just rolls up and rolls up and rolls up, and suddenly, like, it's an avalanche and your towers are just gone.
Yeah.
It was incredible push, perfectly timed, it caught Five Gaming with their trousers down, let's be honest. Here is a push that we're going to see here.
It's game 1. This is game 1.
This is game 1. Yeah, this is game 1. Look how much stuff is there. There's 4 Lava Hounds there. Both the Clone Lava Hounds explode at the same time, but there's still so much. There are the Bats. There's still a Lava Hound alive. There's the Inferno Dragon.
That's the
just
important
takes it out. The Inferno Dragon was caught on the right-hand side down defense for Five Gaming. And then suddenly just like, boom, thank you. Good game. Yeah, I'll see you next week.
That Inferno Dragon wasn't really taking care of that. That was the biggest problem, and the Lava Hound was still full health. The way that it moved forward here, and Fireball and a Rocket. Definitely an overkill there.
Yeah, if you look at Rad's face, he's kind of just like, yeah, that happened. Yeah. And here we see that Five Gaming kind of turned it around with a very similar deck. With the skeletons used instead, didn't actually make a difference here, but the Rage on those Lava Hounds and then the Rocket coming in. Yeah, the Skeleton Barrel actually helped a lot earlier in the game. That push, it didn't. And we see here that that Lava Hound just didn't drop.
It feels like if you're getting ready for the clone decks in the future, you just need to have an arrow always on hand for both players maybe, just because you're talking about how that clone could have really appeared for any situation. And just putting the arrow down, very wide radius, and it's guaranteed to just wipe out every clone unit. So in a 2v2 environment, I feel like arrow's going to be a lot more viable when you're trying to deal with the clone push.
I think the issue with that is sometimes you really do need that arrow so that you can stop a clone push from being super powerful. Like imagine Minion Horde being cloned with a Lava Hound behind it, and suddenly that's like a mass of units where you could have just maybe stop the clone altogether if you take out that Minion Horde first.
It's a different side of an argument, but you know, the clone will never really be used unless a situation is right? You have to have a lot of units that you think when you clone these units, I'm going to have a huge advantage as long as they cannot stop it. And we saw that in the game 1 when we were talking about the Infernal Dragon that eventually was not taken away, even through the King's Tower when it was just getting the free damage on. And it really showed that, you know, in that instance when the clone doesn't happen, I would still save the arrow, even for the Minion Horde. Obviously, you talk about a very usual counter when you talk about the arrow usage of that one. But I think it's really important that when we're going to see more of these clone decks and arrow, I think it's just going to be a lot more viable because whenever you see 20 units, you know, even 10 units of being just cloned together, arrow, just all on that area, and just get a nicer defense going.
But Zap does the same thing to cloned units.
Smaller radius.
Smaller radius, but like most of the cloned units do clump up. There was a lot of clumping there with the Inferno Dragon, the Bats, the Lava Hound. They all kind of clumped together.
Yeah.
A Zap there, that would have been so much value.
Gonna have to find out the answers because we're still seeing this clone deck being experimented. We're still seeing this not being the normal deck, especially in 2v2. But now we're seeing a little bit of it here, and I think players will kind of be opening their eyes into the possibilities of what we can make out of this. So really interesting because we're gonna go to a 1v1 match once again with the Ace match, but in 2v2s that will come later in the season. Gonna see how that's utilized.
Yeah, we saw. I think it was week 3, where we saw the double giant skeleton clone defense.
Yep.
This week we saw the double lava hound inferno dragon, basically every flying unit in the game clone.
Yeah.
On offense.
Yep.
So what would win in that? Like the offense or the defense? If it's giant skeleton defense.
You know what it is,
clone?
because it's the lava hound. The lava hound's not gonna even going for the giant skeleton. They're still running for the tower. And usually the giant skeleton like to be exploded right around that bridge where every units can be clustered. And even if that explodes, maybe the lava hound already surpassed that range already. And you know, there's a lot of theories out in the air. There's a lot of questions we can answer kind of theoretically, knowing what will happen. But I think even the players sometimes don't know the correct answer to those, so they have to experiment with different things and to hope that the opponents do not have the right counter to suffice for your decks.
Yeah, who do you think we're going to see in the Ace match right now?
That's an interesting question as well, because I think Japan, with 5 Gaming, they have Donnie, Rad, Yakitori, and Ken Sameshi.
Ken Sameshi
But Ken
cannot
Sameshi
play
cannot
today.
play because he did not play in the 1v1 and the 2v2. But it has to be one of those 3 players. I feel like
Rad?
Donnie, he didn't play well, but maybe he has something to show. That could be a possibility. But he is a new player, and I think his lack of the experience being on stage and playing in front of this competitive crowd, you know that there's going to be a little bit of a different factor added on to the kind of the general play style you like to usually do. So maybe he hasn't shown a full sense of what he can possibly do and could really appear for a comeback. But, like I said, Rad and Yakitori, very, very much viable options there as well.
Yeah, what about AHQ Esports? We could see Kangxi, I think, again, because he did win those first games quite easily. His defense was on point. He did have a very strong counter deck to his opponent, but I feel like Kangxi might come out again. Yao Yao and Jacques, though, are still pretty good in 1v1 as well.
But they didn't really show their strats in 2v2, and I feel like the momentum has shifted away from those guys individually. So, talking about Kangxi and him winning out of 1v1, and whereas Yao Yao and Jacques did not win in their 2v2s, I think the kind of the momentum shift is a little bit away from them. I feel like those 2 players would like a little bit of mental break to make sure they recover from the loss, but I think Kangxi, he still remembers that 1v1 win and really wants to continue on with that, maybe with another opponent.
Yeah, I think we'll see Kangxi versus... I want to say Rad, but I think Yakitori might come out.
Could be any of those 3 players, because I even think Donnie is in that option as well, just in case that... You talk about that theory where it's your first day. It's your first debut in the Clash Royale League Asia, and you haven't played in this stage before. Basically, now it's Japan playing away in the Taiwan studios, and that is him. That is Donnie right now playing away for his debut. For the very first time he's playing Clash Royale live here. And, there are a lot of factors that add on to it. So, Donnie could play. I think that's just fair as an option to give him a second chance. But he said this is a very important ace match where everything's decided here. So, like I said, it's really important to know, what we're going to be seeing out of the decision-making process for 5 Gaming.
Yeah, I hope we're going to see these players soon, because I want to talk about like what they're going to be doing, and we're still waiting to hear who is going to be playing this.
Okay.
I don't like the idea of playing Donnie, to be honest. I think maybe you rest him, and then instead play one of your more seasoned players to make sure that you take the win.
Sure. Because it is a more important match, and everything will be decided here. So it's really good to just get more reliability in some of the players that you talked about with Rad and Yakitori.
See, now I'm looking back at the bans, actually. The Tornado and the Poison ban. With those clones, I can definitely see why they banned the Poison, because Poison would have just taken down that push instantly. Yep. Tornado as well would have taken down that push.
Sure, but I think kind of at that point, HQ really knew that the Tornado would probably be banned by the other team. It's been it's been the best. It's been the top priority when it comes to 2v2. More so, even in 1v1, it's still a viable ban pick, and we've seen that time in and time out where Tornado is such a good defensive tool that basically you can even expect that the opponent team will ban it, so you don't even have to think about it. I think they were in that state of mind. I think that either the Tornado or the Poison will probably be good counters to this clone decks, and since we thinking that AHQ probably will ban out the Poison, that they don't really have to ban out the Tornado on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, everyone kind of knows that Tornado gets banned at this point.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rare that it gets through. Maybe when both teams make the same gamble, that's the only time we really see it. A Tornado Poison ban. What? I'm running out of things to say about that match, but that push is just so dangerous. But when you're caught off guard, most things work, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you drop like 5 elixir on the balloon. Suddenly you have nothing to defend with, and that's, I think, how Fav Gaming lost that first game.
But yeah, you just continue on from your point. They did lose that game 1 because they didn't expect that clone deck to come forward, but now they expected it for the games 2 and games 3, and it wasn't really about AHQ stopping to use that deck that they brought off that in game 1 and won so easily with. But really, Fav Gaming took one game to really study what had really resulted in the way they lost that games, and was thoroughly prepared in the way, of course, using the timeout to get that additional minute to make sure they're thoroughly prepared for that game too. And I feel like they really came back strong and felt like they had the complete answer to how to deal with the clone deck, and kind of used it a little bit themselves as well.
Yeah. What do you think of the Rascal card? Do you think we're going to see it once it comes into play in, I think, 2 weeks, is it now?
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see it much on the stage, or do you think it's going to be kind of a rare card to see?
I think conceptually, I think it makes sense because it's like a really, really, really not as tanky giant. Of course, with talking about the little Rascal sisters in the back, kind of being almost like a Dark Goblin in the way they kind of attack. But of course, they're going to be a lot weaker, and they do have very little flimsy HP bars, and that just means that log, anything zap obviously will not wipe them out, but even an arrow, the log, you're talking about anything that really does about a spell of a damage to those little pesky minions, it will happen once again to the little girls at the back. But what that means is that if you can manage to keep the 2 sisters alive in the back, does so much damage to, you talking about even to a tower, but even not to a tower, for defensive purposes as well. It kind of does same thing what a Dark Goblin does from quite a little bit of range, and you can do damage over time. And that's the only condition I feel like, that if players can manage to keep those things alive, keep that girls alive, the sisters in the back, then I think it can be a very viable pick as long as you can make the composition around. And I feel like I've used it a little bit in the challenge that we had, of course, with the practice that is available in the tournament mode. I kind of used it as a substitution giant. It's usually the giant deck where we have the poison, the zap, and the double prince, and we know that typical route where if you just substitute with a giant from a giant to the Rascals, it really can see there can be interesting things that work with it. I think the players are really figuring things out to make sure what they can do with it.
Yeah, once again, we're going to see a replay from Danny versus Kangxi. The Goblin Barrel instantly countered there, but then the mirrored Goblin Barrel comes in, and the Pecker on the other side has been easily dealt with. The arrows, predictive arrows, taking that out, knocking down that tower, nice and easy there. And here we have the second game. This is that first push that just dealt so much damage. I think they even, did they miss one? Oh no, I thought they missed one of the Lava Hounds in that push. As you can see, that balloon does connect once, but then look, it's just so many bodies there for Fav Gaming that is just overwhelming at that point. What do you throw in defense?
Nothing. I mean, Rocket. Basically, that would be a good option there, but seems like Raden Yakitori did not have it for that first occasion.
Yeah, and Yao Yao and Jacquet just then finish it off. It looks like they had a race between the Rocket and the Fireball here, because the Rocket comes in and Fireball at the same time. Obviously, Fireball is a much faster card than the Rocket.
Either way, so that was a surprising game 1.
Yeah.
Left us speechless just for a moment.
Yeah, game 2 was a lot longer than that one, I would say.
Went to overtime.
Longer. Did go to overtime. But once those double Lava Hounds are sitting in front of your tower like that and you only have 800 left, it's game over. It's very hard to take them down quick enough where they won't finish that tower. And we see here as well, Lava Hound again. Lots of HP, low HP tower. It's inevitable fate.
We've seen it, and we've seen that. I think I really liked what FOV Gaming did, and after suffering that really, what would it say? Embarrassing, but kind of surprising loss.
Yeah.
In the way they lost, it was kind of the game ended right around after a minute it started. So, after that suffering that loss, it could take a toll on them to really, recover from that to, face the matches in game 2 and possibly to game 3. And I think FOV Gaming did a good job of really being focused to understand what had got them the loss and figuring out the counter for it, because knowing that AHQ, once they win like that, there's no other reason to play with that deck once again, because they're going to come back with it, and they kind of expected that, obviously, with FOV Gaming, and just really knew how to maneuver around it and to get the wins for games 2 and eventually in game 3 to now we're back here for the ace match.
Yeah, the timeout there, I think, was super important, just to give your players 1 minute to calm down after a loss like that.
Sure.
Because if you lose like that, suddenly you might go on full tilt. That timeout there allows you to just talk to your players and be like, look, it's okay.
Yeah.
It happens. Don't worry about it. Everybody gets a little anxious sometimes and just gets caught off guard. And then you've talked to your players, you've calmed them down. They're going to go into the next match with maybe a fresh mindset.
Sure. And it is difficult to do that when you're the players who have just suffered that defeat, and of course you can be the coach and trying to calm them down to make sure their mental status is ready to go for the next game. But if it's not really the cooperation for the players themselves, it just can become difficult at times to really recover from such a really devastating loss like that. So good of FOB Gaming to make sure they recover, make sure they're ready to go for game 2, and have that positive attitude really now put us right now into the ace match.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that FAV Gaming didn't use that timeout in set 1, actually. I thought it would have been used there to like calm down Danny after his first performance for the team, but didn't see it.
Okay, we're starting to hear some music here. Trying to get onto a little party here. We're ready for this. I think the delay is going to be happening just a little bit. We're just trying to get to the matches here. Is the VCR on right now? No, I don't think so. Just we're hearing the music more than anything.
Yeah, it's just like suddenly there's music and talking in my ear, and I'm like, oh, okay. I think who was that talking?
Might have been one of the Korean commentators. Says, "Beats me," if I could tell you myself. But what we do know is that there's some kind of delay, before we get onto this ace match, and I think we need a little more time. We can talk over all we want, but at the same time, we want to get onto the matches as well to make sure that you guys don't have to wait too long to get onto the matches and see, what's going to be the outcome between these two teams of FOB Gaming and the Southeast Asian team of AHQ, obviously.
Yeah, it's a bad time to have a technical delay like this because it's going into the ace match. That's where this game is going to be decided, and then suddenly we have this massive break where we just want to get into it. I'm sure the players just want to get into it.
Sure.
But unfortunately, we can't, and we're not quite sure what the reason is, right?
We'll get there. I'm sure, if a reason does come to us, we'll let you guys know. But as for the time being, we just know it's a kind of a general delay. And they're probably just hoping to fix it very time soon here. But we're going to get into the matches soon, obviously. But, for that meantime, we can just talk over multiple areas of topics. And we can just talk about whatever you want to. So, I mean, the subject is all up to you.
Why do I have to come over the subject?
You're pretty good. You're pretty good at this.
This is like being at home with the wife. Like, oh, you choose. No, you choose. You choose. Like, we're going to get into this fight. All right, let's talk about the rankings.
Okay.
What team do you think is going to come out number 1?
Team, not region, though.
Team, not region. Just team. Which team can you see coming out first overall? You
know my answer. It's going to be Game with Shun.
Yep.
Because Game without Shun is a very different team. So, if you're going to put Shun on the day, I feel like that team just might be the best team in all of the tournament right now.
I agree a little bit with Game with, but I do think that Ponos Sports as well with Mika and Boya.
Yeah.
It's incredible team.
And it has been said that even the Korean commentators, June. We were talking about June a little bit earlier. June was actually saying that Mika and Boya might be the best Japanese players, just Japanese player in the entire tournament, and I didn't believe it at first. I wouldn't believe it at first, but I think we're getting the confirmation back that it
Hmm.
might be a 5 to 10 minutes more just for delay.
Okay.
So we got 5 more minutes, or maximum of 10 minutes to talk over things. But getting back to our point, June said, Mei Kambuya was the best Japanese player right now in the tournament, and I thought Shun was really not being unmatched by any other player that I've seen, but that was his opinion. And you bring it up once again that upon a sport can become very very strong in this league here.
What about Brent Esports? Like they are definitely the strongest team in SEA, but
That's a no-brainer.
are they the strongest team in this region?
I don't
'Cause
think so.
they're currently 4-1.
They're currently 4-1 because they won basically their matches from their own region, which was for them a lot easier than to face off against Japanese team. But that one loss did come from that one match a couple days ago from the Japanese team. So they're starting to see. Maybe it's not all sticks and stones, and really about the easier difficulty when it comes to the other regions, especially Japan, who has been performing so well.
Yeah, Brent Esports did win yesterday though, so they're 4-1. We have Game with 6-1. Brent Esports 4-1. I mean, next week we have the Korea versus SEA games,
Yeah.
and I can see Brent Esports easily picking up another two
Sure.
games there right now. Even with Kingzone Dragon X being the strongest Korean team, they're currently sitting 3-2.
I mean, Kings of Dragon X, they got all their wins from the other Korean teams. More than anything, it wasn't really them trying to fight against Japan. And for both of their attempts to get a win against the Japanese team, it did not work out. They did suffer 2 losses in a row in that week, trying to go up against Japan, and really just started to show the rise of Japan as a region, as kind of the strength has been abiding and trying to prove themselves as well going into this next week. And we really gonna have to find out whether Southeast Asia teams, especially Brand Esports, can they be as dominative against the Korean teams, especially Kings on Dragon X.
Yeah, we actually saw Kingzone Dragon X today in the lobby before we started,
Yeah.
and they looked pretty happy with each other. They were, standing around. I think they were waiting to go somewhere, but they were talking and joking with each other. So even though they lost twice against Japan, I still think the teamwork is there, and I think they might bounce back. I feel that's going to happen.
I mean, we do have a couple of days, of course, a week worth of waiting before we get there, because it's going to happen right on Friday of next week, and that will be Korea's home matches versus the Southeast Asian team. So Brand Esports and the rest of the guys looking to come to Korea and to really shut the doors down, trying to say we're the stronger region when compared to Korea, and they're trying to do it against Japan right now. But of course, we get into the ace match, and we don't know who's going to really win out in the end. We're going to only find out once the delay is over. We probably can see that Southeast Asia, their really contention is not all about just Korea. Being better than Korea is not their objective goal. They're trying to just get to the stage where Southeast Asia can be the best region in the entire tournament of Clash Royale League Asia.
Well, that's the goal, isn't it? You want your region to be at the top, not just for, every team being up there in the standings at the end of the season, but it's also this bit of pride, like
Sure.
your region is number one in this area, and like suddenly you all kind of band together and you start playing well.
Yeah.
And we heard yesterday in the interviews that I think Ponos and Fav have been scrimming together.
Okay.
That just shows that Japan doesn't care much about fighting against each other. They care about winning as a region, dominating as a region. Whereas SEA has a problem with that because they're from all over the place. We have Taiwan, we have the Philippines. I think one of the teams is Indonesian. So they're all from different areas. So there's not that kind of unification like there is in Japan, where they're like, we're Japanese teams, we finished playing against each other, let's work together, dominate the rest of the scene.
And really could see how that reflects onto the actual results, because we've seen the Japanese teams after the 2 weeks we had of kind of the regional division, when we're talking about one team from Japan going against another team in Japan. They were enemies then, but after those 2 weeks, they were never going to have a match where the same country team will probably not going to be able to fight against another team from that same region. Maybe until we get to the playoffs, obviously, when
and the wild cards.
and the wild cards, and when things like that happen. But for the meantime, for the competition, I think that what you said about scrimming with the same country team just really shows that they're in it to really just make the other team better, to make themselves better. But they can do that when they have high competition across all 4 teams in the region. And Japan, I think, a little bit showing of that as well.
Yeah, we have seen Detonation Gaming being the lowest of the Japanese teams, but they still have 2 wins and 4 losses, which is no shabby record at this point. Just put them 8th. We have Sandbox, OGN Entus, Chaos Theory, and AHQ Esports could go above them today.
Yep.
But, I mean, Detonate, like, I'm looking at the sheet. Our sheet is color-coded by region, and the top 4 is just pretty much all yellow, with one little green resistance there from Brent Esports. Sandbox 1 and 4. Wasn't expecting that when we first got into this tournament, because Sandbox is actually filled with a lot of the well-known Korean players. We have Ido. I can't remember anyone else on that team right now, but they were one of the more experienced Korean teams, and they just never really got going.
At least in the Korean community, Sandbox was definitely recognized for the fact that they probably had one of the stronger rosters in terms of just name value and the individual talents they did have, presumably, but it did not really turn into a team-based result, especially in that 2v2 when they could not really struggle out to get many wins. Even that 1v1 had a hard time as well. Okay. So the delay was due to not a technical issue, but more of a judgmental issue, where the set 2, the game 3, is going to be played again.
Oh, really?
Because HQ, when they were playing that game 3 earlier, they had an audio issue where they could not really experience the sounds very well, and that obviously hurt them in the way they could not win that game 3 in that set 2. So the judges were looking over that, and the referees were just looking over that to make sure that was viable, and they found that the valid claim was actually right on the side of HQ, and they felt like the regame had to be remade, and I think we're going to be slowly getting into this match now where the 2v2 is not necessarily over yet.
So we are going to see Radin Yakatori and Yao Yao and Jake play off again in Game 3. So Game 3 is a write-off, guys. What happened? How long ago was it? 10, 15 minutes ago?
It's been a while.
A year ago. What happened a year ago has been wiped out, and we're going to see one more repeat of Rad Yakatori versus Yao Yao and Jake.
Really interesting. 1 minute.
Do you think they're going to play the same decks, or do you think there's going to be a little bit of a change here?
I think if any changes come about, I think it has to be gone towards HQ because they lost the 2 games in a row. Of course, the third game was due to an audio issue that made them look worse than they actually did. But otherwise, I feel like they didn't really have a clear answer to all those clone units that was used effectively by FOF Gaming. Of course, just borrowing a page out of the playbook. Of course, from HQ, who did use that to get a very nice win in Game 1.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about pretty much everything up until this point, but neither of us were expecting to be going back into Game 3.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see very different decks this time. I don't see even FAV Gaming going for the same deck. I think both teams are going to call it a scratch and try something completely different, because that last game is a known entity now. They know exactly what decks, what cards are in that deck. They know that maybe if they carry arrows, as you said, suddenly that deck becomes a lot weaker. So maybe we're going to see more of a Golem push this time instead of the Lava Hound?
I want to agree with you, but I feel like the Lava Hound will come back, and with the right usage of that clone, we still could see that one team is going to be caught off guard, and we could very well see where either HQ or even FOF Gaming even could very well be in a situation where they get trumbled down by that usage of the clone with the Lava Hound. Could see that once again, but all the questions are up in the air as we're probably getting ready to into Game 3 to see what decks these two teams decide to bring. So it could be the last match if HQ does win out this one.
All right, so once again, this is Game 3. This is a replay of Game 3. Radin Yakatori for FAV Gaming in the blue at the bottom of the screen. Yao Yao and Jake for AHQ Esports Club.
Look at that.
On the other side. And we do see that FAV Gaming are bringing a completely different deck than last time.
Okay.
Princess there is a very hard counter to that clone play that we saw earlier. If she connects onto the clones, they're dead instantly.
See the Infernal Dragon now trying to target out one of the Lava Hound. This means that the second Lava Hound will be summoned right after to get some free hits onto the tower, and that will be just a decent amount, but really not what they were looking for there in that occasion, as we see 18-14 here.
Yeah, the Dark Goblin did so much work for Fav Gaming, just taking down those pups before they even got a chance to develop into anything. It just cleaned everything up. And we've seen this a lot actually in the Japanese region of just how good they are using these Dark Goblins on defense.
Dark Goblin's just going to damage out the right side of the tower, where AHQ seemingly had a difficult time to defend. See, they're both towers right now, 1130 and 1648 on the right. We're going to see this being overcome on the side of HQ.
Yeah, I think Yao Yao and Jacques keeping the same deck was a little bit of a mistake here, because as we've seen, Fav Gaming took their time and they've developed this anti-whatever that deck was. Like, they've added in the Dark Goblin, they've added in Princesses, they've added in barrels to try and force the game on the other side. And because of that, I think Fav Gaming are going to easily win this.
Yeah, we can see that the chipping away is going to be real here. You see the Lava Hound continuing, but the Goblin is not going to be... The Dark Goblin almost gets the tower down on the right side.
Yeah, 187, pretty much anything now will finish that tower. Poison and maybe a zap, a log. There's the clone play that we see. Not as powerful as it has been. Arrows come in. Princess is cleaning it up, as we mentioned earlier. And suddenly, it's looking very, very, very bad once again for AHQ Esports.
So you see that Fav is not even going to go for the right side anymore, knowing that it's basically secure, just trying to get themselves a second tower. It's going to be the objective here, and the first tower goes down in this last minutes here. 20 seconds left. Everything is finished up, but 236 on the left. Means that they have to go for 3 crowns here, HQ.
Yeah, and once again we see that they tried that clone play, and the double princesses just make it into a shower of elixir, but they do manage to push through. The lumberjack does get through. The wizard is here. Can they defend that? No, they cannot. There is the rocket. That finishes off the game, and we get the same result as we had in the last game.
So we're looking at HQ, who failed to get a win after that remake did happen. So Fav Gaming will be winning out that one. So eventually we were going to get to the ace match anyway. So hopefully this time around, there's not much waiting to do, since probably a remake will not happen again. We can get probably onto the ace match very soon.
I hope there's not another remake. There's not enough space on my sheet to change the result again.
We've been talking quite a bit, during that delay, obviously trying to decide whether the remake was a thing or not, but we ended up being a decision being made by the referees, and from the side coming from Taiwan, thinking that that was the right way to go forward, and eventually HQ did not win again. So now we're back in the situation at 1v1 for the ace match to decide it all. Will probably be underway a lot sooner this time around.
Yeah, I think the ace match again, I think we're going to see Rador Yakitori play. They dominated that last game, let's be honest. They changed their deck in a way that it would counter whatever if they saw the same deck again, they had the perfect counters.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, AHQ Esports Club did do that. They played the same deck.
That's what we see, and really seeing through what we've kind of come for the adaptation from the side of Fav Gaming. Did not bring the old tricks to the books here. So what was needed was a fresh new look to how to deal with this composition, and figured out the best defensive efforts in addition to providing the offense for themselves as well. That's what got AHQ. Could have been a win that would have won out the series altogether, but it become Fav Gaming winning it out in the end with that last deck really just working out against the clones.
Yeah, I would say that Fav Gaming's deck would not have worked against any other deck but the one AHQ Esports Club board.
Yep.
If it was anything else, if they'd gone golems without the clones, they'd have won.
Yeah.
I think sticking with that deck for a third time, even though it's good sportsmanship, it doesn't matter, right? They should have changed their deck.
And I feel like AHQ, from their perspective, they were so caught up in the fact that that game one went so well for them that it's kind of like the psychology of winning a lottery, for example.
Mm-hmm.
When something really, really good happens like that, you know it's not going to happen again, but you just feel like it would. And there's like a slight chance that it would happen again. That's what they're relying on in HQ, playing that exactly the same deck, hoping that what they really felt in that game one where they felt superiorly better than their opponents by beating them out in the first minute of the game. They just wanted it to happen again, and it really didn't happen as we expected.
Yeah, because we didn't see that balloon getting dropped. I think the balloon getting dropped in game one really like eliminated any elixir advantage that they could have had. And we see Fav Gaming do use Rad in their 2v2.
Feeling confident after that 2v2 win they had. Feels like Rad is the right choice forward for Fav Gaming. Wants to be the one, the hero, to get the win for their team here.
And then Jacquet used here as well. Coming off those games where they, from that 2v2 where they lost, is Jacquet the right choice going forward here? I thought maybe we'd have seen Kangxi because, you know, game one, set one, just was so easy for him.
Well, Kangxi hasn't played in the last 40 minutes or so because we had that delay that was so long. And last time Kangxi played was a very long time ago. So maybe he just lost the touch over that duration of time where he did not play. And at least Jacquet is still fresh off the hook, right?
Yeah, both these players are still fresh off that last game, but I think Red might have a bit more of a mental boost compared to Jacquet because Jacquet got manhandled in that last game. The perfect counter deck to what they bought, and maybe we'll see that again. Maybe Rad will sit down and see what happens in the first game and then go, oh, I got a perfect counter for that.
We're going to see what happens because we're going to get that 1v1 match between these two teams. Jacquet for HQ and also Rad from Fav Gaming to decide who the winner is for this very first series here because we're now 1 hour and 22 minutes into our broadcast. We are now getting onto the ace match because we did have a couple of delays in order to get here, but we do thank you guys for sticking with us. And if you're watching from YouTube, I'm sure you have skipped all the way to this here, and I'm glad you guys did because it's really important that you guys get to the match very, very soon, and we'll try to get on as soon as we can.
Yeah, thank you for watching on YouTube because, yeah, you will be able to skip this this whole break and us trying to come up with things to talk about. But I do want to just bring up the fact that Fav Gaming coming into this kind of were the favorites, especially for us. And HQ Esports Club definitely showed promise in the first set and the first game of set 2. But it feels like they get one-tracked a little bit too easily. They taste blood and they think, okay, this works, let's do it again.
That's what they wanted, but obviously we know with lottery, it doesn't happen quite often. It feels like that's what they're relying on. Okay, we're seeing the ban cards here. Rad with the Graveyard Ban, something that is not conventionally seen in 1v1, then Jacquet's going to get the Giant Ban.
Yeah, we don't see these bans too much. I mean, Graveyard Ban is odd, I would say. Don't you think? Banning a Graveyard, it's not a very common ban. So this has to be targeted against Jacquet.
You gotta think so, because with a Graveyard, if it does get summoned and you have to defend against it, there are multiple ways of defending it, and you know, Poison is the most common one, of course, being +1 Elixir trade. In addition to just guaranteeing that none of the skeleton really does significant amount of damage to your tower. And we can see that being played, and we can see, you know, Dark Prince is a great counter against it as well. Guards are great.
But
There's
then
so
why
many
would you ban it? There are so many good things against it. Why ban it?
But the things that I mentioned about Poison, the Dark Prince, or even the Guards, maybe are not preferable cards for Rad here, and that just means if you're not going to use the cards to you know, play against your opponent, and if that person decides to use the Graveyard, then he's in a little bit of trouble that he doesn't want to get into. Maybe that's the only mindset that I have to read upon coming up with the Graveyard Ban in this 1v1 ace match.
What do you think of the Giant ban? I mean, Giant is a good card to ban out, I feel, some of the time, but he's very easily replaced.
See it on Golems being more typical than the Giant, but Giant is a lot lightweight when it comes to just comparisons of the usage of elixirs, with 5 elixirs for the Giant and 8 elixirs for the Golem. And knowing just that fact, then you can just play a little more in terms of cycle, just to get around the Giant a little bit faster. And the Golden Push is going to be an all or nothing for most of these rounds, because it's not going to be a 2v2 where you're not going to have multiple Giant summons throughout the game. You're going to have maybe a couple, and then the game will probably end. So Giant makes a little more sense in that occasion to have it there for that 1v1 here.
Yeah, Giant being banned, to me, feels like Jacquet doesn't want to play against a double Prince deck. Because we've seen this double Prince Giant deck pop up, at least in the meta somewhat, where you throw the Golem out and then throw down the 2 Princes, and suddenly you have a battering ram that just deals way more damage than a battering ram.
That has been the case, and let's see what competition does come out of it, what decks these two players decide to use. Rad coming off that victory in 2v2. Tries to come out in the 1v1 scenario and tries to get a win for his team. But for HQ, it was the losing end of Shake in that 2v2, the same one. They lost to the FOV Gaming. Shake is going to be the player that's relied upon for the side of HQ. Just getting ready for this ace match. Hopefully bring them a win here, because right now everything's taken away. All that 1v1, all that 2v2 you saw, it doesn't matter anymore. It's all about this 1v1 for this ace match, and this will decide everything.
Yep, set 3, final set ace match. There is a reason why we call it the ace match.
Yeah.
And that's because this is the one that decides the winner. And we can see now that the players' time is up. They're just about getting ready to drop into this game now. Who do you think will win? Give me a prediction here.
I think FOV Gaming, just on sheer momentum run they're having, they can just take advantage of that, punish their opponents, make them feel thinking like that 2v2 wasn't a fluke. That game 1 that you won is purely out of luck, because we didn't expect it. There was no defense from our parts with the current draw that we had. But games 2 and games 3, even the remake of game 3, showed you guys that we are the stronger team, and I think they just want to keep that statement up to try to get another win here.
I will agree with you, but I do think that Jacquet might pull this out. I think there is a very good chance that he will beat Rad in this game, and we're about to find out. Set 3, the ace match between FOV Gaming's Rad and AHQ Esports Club's Jacquet is about to begin. We're in the arena. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what cards are going to be playing. That's the most interesting question that we're throwing up in the air. Let's really find out what the players have in mind. Bit of a steal to start us off. Let's see the Ice Golem and also the Skeleton here. Are we going to see a rushing deck?
The Bandit actually connects to the tower. The Electro Wizard has to come straight down, making sure that she doesn't deal a lot of damage.
8 elixirs being used just for the Bandit.
And there is the Dark Goblin. As we've said, this is a very, very common card in the Japanese meta right now.
Wow, and we see the Dark Goblin wiping out the Electro Wizard and also the Baby Dragon as well. So very good utility use out of that one just for 3 elixirs.
Yeah, very valuable card, that Dark Goblin right there. Whenever I play it, it never gives me that much value, but the professionals know how to eke elixir value out of absolutely everything.
Probably is the reason why you're here right now playing these stages. The reason why we're sitting here, not on that stage, we're not in Taiwan, we're in Korea, just bringing you guys the action.
Oh, the Dark Goblin actually goes across the river there, taking out the Tombstone.
It has a huge range, that Dark Goblin, and just allow it to just get some free damage. Damage output is quite large.
We see, it looks like FOV Gaming's Rav has a little bit of an advantage when it comes down to the cards played so far. But I feel like Jacquet's deck will really kick into gear once this double elixir time comes up. And there is a Golem. That does mean that double elixir time is going to be a very dangerous time for Rad, because he can build so much behind the Golem.
Still looking at us here. Trying to see what the defense opportunity will be here, and trying to get away from all the damage coming through. And the Miner finally goes in with the Dark Prince. So that's the attack on the right side for Jacquet. If he can get this one in, and that will be very, very good for the defensive strat. And they can just keep on and try to keep the pressure on as well. But the Electro Wizard stopping the Infernal Dragon from destroying the Golem. So the Golem is still at work. So how far it can go with this one.
Yeah, the Electro Wizard as well is still at work. Down to 8-2-4. The Baby Dragon's going to clean up that Inferno Dragon. Down goes the tower from the Mega Minion.
Yep, and that will be done with that. And the ace match begins off with Rad suffering that tower loss from the side of Jacque.
Yeah, Jacque drawing first blood here, but the rocket comes in, takes down the tower and the Mega Minion. All is being reset, but Jacque's push with this Golem worked so well last time. Will he be able to defend this push from Rad? If he does, I feel like he's going to have a massive advantage coming through. Dark Goblin, though, does connect. There's the Inferno Dragon. We see Mega Minion used. There's the Electro Dragon to make sure the Inferno Dragon cannot do anything. But look at that charging Dark Prince down the other side.
And look at the Golem on the left as well. Jacque is not done on the offensive end of things as a Baby Dragon. It's just going to be going for the Ice Golem that has been summoned, but everything just being used as a distraction tool, but still we're going to see
Doesn't
tower
connect.
go down, and that will be them just finishing it off, and Jacque is going to get the win here in game 2. Game 1, I'm sorry, because we were talking about so many games being played here today. Everything feels like game 2.
Yeah, unluckily, I mean, the rocket felt misplaced there from Rad because he really wanted to make sure he connected with those Baby Golems just to try and get them out of the way. That was his only chance at defending that. And it just didn't connect. He completely whiffed it.
So with that giant band, we found out that Jacque's thought process was around the Golem. That Golem push, presumably ignored from the side of Rad, was kind of surprising, where we saw the Golem being summoned on the right side, and all of a sudden, Five Gaming's Rad just decided to use all his elixirs go for a full align push, and thinking that he wants to just take a cheeky tower, while the Golem was prepping to make his run as well, but did not work out, and the left tower was not gone down to pieces. Just meant that Golem was still available to do a lot of damage without the defense coming from the Five Gaming side.
Yeah, Rad had a very big advantage going up until about the 1 minute mark where the double elixir started. We saw that Golem come down, and suddenly Rad's deck just didn't look like it had the same advantage anymore. That Golem just, it represents so much power, so many hit points going forward that it's really hard to stop properly, especially with the Electro Wizard coming out and actually connecting onto the Inferno Dragon. Rad had an advantage up until that double elixir mark. Then suddenly the balance switches over to Jacque's side, and Jacque capitalized on it and took the win.
That's what he did, and he did all the right things to get that done, and Golem was kind of the base of what he was trying to do for his win condition, and he definitely got that in game 1. Back to game 2, with that giant still banned out. Is Jacque even thinking on the lines, trying to bring the Golem back out once again?
So here we are, Five Gaming's Rad in the blue. AHQ Esports Jacque in red with a 1 set lead here, 1 game lead. Will he be able to finish it off here?
Rad bringing us the Princess this time around.
We haven't seen that many princesses really in this tournament so far.
Okay, we're going to see Tesla. We usually know what that means.
Yeah, it usually means they're playing Tesla.
Oh, come on.
There we go.
That's what I was talking about.
The Expo actually played defensively here.
Sure, and it makes a lot of sense. He's going to target the Goblin Hut. Make sure he gets the free 4 elixir trade. Make sure that Goblin Hut does very little summoning.
He is playing a quite a bit heavier Expo deck than what we usually see in these games.
Yeah.
Usually we see the extremely low Expo cycle deck. Here we have the Hunter, we have the Test the Tower. Both of those are very heavy cards in comparison to that lightweight deck we see, the 3.0 I think it is.
Another defensive Expo being summoned. That's definitely not going to target the tower. You see it just go for all these little pesky goblins. Just go for that 1 Goblin Hunt as well.
And a mirror from Rad, making sure that he does get a Goblin Hut that's going to live a lot longer. And those level 10 Spear Goblins are going to survive quite a bit of damage from the Expo, but they're still not ever going to get a Spear out of their hands, basically. You see the Bandit come in. It's going to go against the Hunter and the Ice Golem here. Bandit will not last long against the Hunter's shotgun.
Of course, with the...
Finally, we see the aggressive Expo. Will it connect onto the tower? does not connect onto the tower. It actually connects onto that hut one more time. The bandit will quickly take care of that. But the hunter there cleans that bandit up in one shot. So now the Expo connects onto the tower. How much damage is it going to do? 500 damage right there. 600, almost just 700 damage pretty much.
1772. On this side of the tower here. Fireball being used to get that down to 1521 in addition to damaging out the Goblin Hut. Seeing mirrored once again, so that's a huge. It looks like it's being used just to summon out more goblins.
Yeah, but the Expo here will do work against all of this. It will make sure those spear goblins don't get anywhere near the tower. Also takes out the princess with the log. There goes the spear hut. There goes the rest of the spear goblins. And now the offensive Expo comes in. Is it going to be able to connect? In comes the Tesla to make sure that nothing can push. Once those spear goblins die, that Expo connects. It's going to be very hard, but it does connect onto that hut. You see the skeletons used, another hut played. Excellent defense here by Rad, making sure that that Expo doesn't target the tower. But he needs to be able to push. He has nothing going forward here.
Second Tesla here, just going to get ready for another Expo as we see right there. Jacques is going to be ready to go with it. It's this matter of speed, and the Rays talking about who's going to get to the targets a little bit quicker. Still don't get the goblins being summoned here, and that's eventually going to lead them to probably them going away
there we
here.
go, we get another connection onto that tower with the Expo.
It's kind of already called a good game.
He's throwing out the good game. That's preemptive.
But the log, yeah, I think if he took that time not to type in good luck, the good game here, that probably would have meant that he could have got the log onto Bandit a little bit more clearly there. Of course, the log missed onto that.
Yeah, Rad is in a very, very bad position here, but I think he needs to play for the draw. He needs to wait another 2 minutes. Can he defend that long? Doesn't look like it. Does throw down the bandit, but it does connect onto the tower. There we go. The tower is going down. There's the fireball. There's the log. Game over. AHQ Jacques closes up match 1 for AHQ Esports. They were 0-3 coming into this week's matches. And here we go. 2 wins.
They get their first 2 wins. Obviously series wins of this entire tournament, but against Japanese teams. That's the biggest surprise right here, because we thought the AHQ was struggling in their own region playing against their allied teams. Of course, talking about the other Southeast Asian teams, haven't done so well. And more so the fact that they did not win a single series out of their first 2 weeks, but coming into this first week of conference division for these guys, getting the 2 wins against the Japanese teams, that's not too shabby for these guys.
Not at all. They've shown that they know how to beat Japan. The 2 games they've played, they've won 2. They've taken out a top 4 team with Fav Gaming. Just, I can't believe it. I would not have ranked AHQ Esports here to beat Fav Gaming.
Now we're back here that, we're going to get ready for this last series here. And what that could mean is that if we do see another win for Southeast Asia, we're going to see Southeast Asia and Japan completely even.
Yeah, and that spells a disaster for the Korean region because they got manhandled by Japan. But the Expo deck was really good there. Even though it was a bit heavier than what we usually see, it still played really well, and it was just a war of attrition. Each time he put down the defensive Expo, he knew that he'd just cycle out, make sure that he hits that offensive Expo next. And then you just keep... The last card was
the last
tornado.
card that wasn't revealed, that was a tornado, told us by the producers.
Nice.
So
Very,
could have been anything.
Deck.
So it really was a 3 spell, obviously talking about the spells being used to make sure you get that completion onto the Expo deck will be important. We're going to slowly get into the interview probably with the winning team of AHQ and see how they feel about the win they just had. Be an interesting topic right there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see AHQ Esports Club in the winners interview again. Like yesterday, I mentioned that maybe that 1 win against Japan will springboard them forward.
那我们恭喜 HQ 拿下这场比赛，也是本周的第2胜，好不好？
Okay, so congratulations AHQ, this is your second win this week.
那先来问一下这个在幕后操纵一切的胖胖老师，今天的状况怎么样？整体
Tell us about your strategy today and everything.
整体的话，其实第一场我们就是康熙抓爆嘛， 就是那个卡组，其实我们是刚刚临时想出来说，这一套好像全吃，就是对手的卡组，好像全吃，所以我们就这样带了。那22的话，其实这个姚侠客出了非常非常多的力啊，因为我昨天是一个这个重病挂病号的状态，对，所以侠客就是强。
So for the 1v1, we just came up with the card spontaneously, and then for the 2v2, it was really, I have to really thank my teammates. They came up with the strategy because I was sick yesterday.
那第3场的大将战的时候，你们有预测到会是 Red 上场吗？
其实 Red 之前也是有上过的，对，那剩的就给侠客来回答吧。
So for the third one, did you thought it was going to be Red to be your competitor?
其实没有想到瑞德会上场，但是最主要就是拿出自己没有上过的东西，对方根本不知道我会玩什么。其实什么都玩一点就够了。
No, I didn't expect that. However, it's about trying the cards that I've never used before, just to surprise the other competitors. That was my strategy. Thank you.
好，那我们就再次恭喜 HQ 在本周算是相当不错的一个成绩。那我们就稍微休息一下，精彩的比赛马上回来。
Congratulations again. Well done, HQ.
Okay, so that was the interview coming from HQ, winning out that game against FOV Gaming. Looking good. I think they can continue on the streak that maybe this last day, the day 3 of the conference division between obviously Southeast Asia and Japan, could really be evenly matched. Something that we wouldn't have said coming into this week.
Yep.
So
we're going into a break.
Yep. So we're going to be right back after a short break. So don't stay tuned, and we're going to be just right back after this break. Welcome back, guys, to Clash Royale League Asia. After those players that voluntarily waved their hands, just showing their expressions of, them feeling good about being here, and we got through an epic rupture of, of what we went through the first series, and saw that Clash Royale can play for a very, very long time. Hour and 40 minutes took it to get one series over, but we're back to the second series and the last series of the day. You can see Detonation Gaming and Kicks Gaming. See who's gonna come out on top.
Yeah, this is a very mid-table clash, and we see on the screen Detonation Gaming, Matsumoto, Pyrameki Ku, and Lewis, who unfortunately was supposed to play in the 2v2 today, but is sick and has been substituted out for Pyrameki.
Pyrameki was on standby duties in case something like this happened, and very much was needed in this occasion. Where Lewis is not even out here right now. He's not even out here in the stadium. And it's going to be Pyrameki just getting ready to play, obviously, the 2v2. That will come a little bit later in time. Who will be here for 1v1? We're going to find out in a bit, but we're going to look at Kicks first. We'll get in Kicks team with Tongsi, The Rock, Dylan, and Rene. See what they do here for the 4 players here.
I'm pretty sure these waves are not voluntary, as you were saying.
They're
at the
so
beginning.
voluntary.
I think they're forced.
We want to wave exactly at the same motion with all 4 players at the same time as a smile, because no one told us to do that. We wanted to do that.
I really don't think that. But anyway, we're going to have Detonation Gaming's first game today is going to be Matsumoto versus Tongji.
Okay. It's going to be interesting 2 matchups here, because we were looking at 1v1 and 2v2. We could have seen that go either way. We ended up seeing AHQ versus, obviously, Five Gaming from that first series, and we saw the AHQ has picked up the 1v1 relatively easily, and we saw them drop 2v2 after a long series of battles, and they came back in Game 3 with 1v1 once again and won out to win out this series. But could see that really mix and match and kind of back and forth action between these 2 teams here.
Yeah, very interesting. We were saying that the Southeast Asian region have a very, very powerful 2v2. And then we see Fav Gaming versus AHQ Esports, where that 2v2 power just didn't quite show again. And they win the 1v1, so that's not what we were expecting coming into this.
Absolutely right on that one, and 2v2 has been the character that has saved Southeast Asian teams multiple times from the Japanese counterparts. But we're looking at it here, 1v1 first. Tongsi, can he do it like HQ, where they get the win to give them a momentum shift over? Because they're still looking like SEA has a decent chance to bring the scoreline back to even when you talk about just regions, with Southeast Asia currently having 3 wins, whereas Japan has 4. We have Tongsi can win out this 1v1 and his team win out the other 2v2. Can see the 4-4 even scoreline to finish out the week.
Yeah, we just saw up on the screen the ban cards. Goblin Hut and Ice Golem.
No, I think that was his favorite cards, wasn't it?
I thought that was the ban. No, it's the
No,
ban
that's
cards.
the ban cards? Ice Golem ban card?
Yeah, man.
Oh.
You need to pay attention more, my
Hey,
friend.
man, I was looking at this and I was like, that can't be the ban card.
Yeah, I've seen Ice Golem banned once or twice before because it is that low-cost tank, you know? It does take a lot of damage, and a lot of decks do use it, but it does feel like an interesting choice. There are so many better things to ban, I feel.
I mean, it's used in basically every deck composition. I think there's not many deck compositions where it doesn't use an Ice Golem. It's very commonly used card because of that tanking utility. You can get it at a very low elixir cost with 2 elixirs, and the best thing you can do with an Ice Golem is sway away an incoming unit, something like the P.E.K.K.A. or even the strongest of units, even the Prince. It's going to be just strolling away, just following through where the Ice Golem leads it on the opposite side. So we've seen it in the past where the Ice Golem can be used quite effectively. So without that, a lot of the common decks that we know become less viable just because of the lack of the Ice Golem.
I wouldn't say less viable. You can play many decks without the Ice Golem, I feel. But to me, this is kind of Tongji saying, I'm going to play Giant Skeleton, I might play P.E.K.K.A. The cards that really do get pulled away really easily by the Ice Golem, it opens up those cards to go for the tower and not being pulled away by the lumbering, cheap elixir pulling thing. You know, Ice Golem just pulls things now. He's a good tank, but his main job is to pull units away from the tower.
And we've seen in the past that when the Ice Golem isn't available, some people like to substitute it with a 3 Elixir Knight. Once again, a tanky unit that obviously does not really pull away much as an Ice Golem can do, but it does put up a decent amount of attack in close range. Obviously, melee character that has been kind of seemingly used for a good amount of HP as a tank character.
Yeah, you can also pair that up with archers for the Rascal 0.1, where you have the knight up in front and the 2 archers behind.
Sure.
So, I mean, maybe they're just getting practice in for later in the season when that card becomes available.
I don't think they have much time to fool around here, Simon. They still have been looking around to get wins. Japan, more important for these guys to end the weekend up on a winning record. Of course, the 5-3 will look a lot better than a 4-4. But they definitely could suffer the latter in case the last Southeast Asian team to play today, the Kicks, if they do pick up a win right here in this series, they will even it out in the scoreline to make Southeast Asia look just as good as Japan.
Yeah, Japan does have a week break after this where we will see Korea versus Southeast Asia. So they really do want to finish off on a high note here. You don't want to finish off on a loss and then have a week to maybe stew about it. 2 weeks to stew about it.
Right.
So we're going to see Detonation Gaming, I think, come out all guns blazing in this one.
Really is important to finish out strong for Japan and Detonation Gaming. They're the team being relied upon by the other 3 teams to make sure they bring the goods and to bring another winning a week out at the conference division. Of course, they did that very handily against Korea last week around, and here they're this week trying to do it against Southeast Asia. We're going to get ready to the game, get into the game very, very soon here as we are almost ready for Southeast Asia and Japan, the last series of the weekend here.
So we have Detonation Gaming's Matsumoton in blue at the bottom of the screen, and Kick's team, Tongji, in red at the top of the screen.
Let's see some cycling here. Matsumoton trying to just get the Ice Bear out of there, just do chip damage, but really wasn't anything significant, more so than trying to just get to that next card, made it available.
Yeah, interesting that it is just a cycle and there's nothing else. Usually, if it would be an Expo deck, we'd see the Expo or Test the Tower come down straight away, because that double elixir time doesn't really make much difference with the Expo deck. So I don't think we're going to be seeing that from Matsumoton here.
Well, we all know that the Ice Golem is one of the key parts for an Expo cycle deck. We've seen that in the past.
Yeah, but you can, as you said earlier, you can easily substitute that with a Knight. Yeah. And it doesn't make that much of a difference to the Expo deck, because all you want from your Ice Golem or the Knight is to tank the damage.
Right.
And they're about equal, I think, in HP.
So we're going down to this 1 minute and 40-second mark, and no card being played, so we're probably going to have to guess that it's going to get very close to that 1 minute mark as both players will go all in. But speaking of what I've been saying, broken apart, this 1 minute and 30-second mark. Goblin Gang being summoned by Matsumoto. Stopped right there by Tongsi.
So we're going to see what looks like a charge deck here for Matsumoton. Doesn't connect, and the Prince just easily taking out those Barbarians. And an Elixir Collector coming down from Matsumoton. But in response, here is a Knight. Here is a Giant. Has to use the Miner on defense with the Minion Horde. Will it get arrowed out here? There it goes. This is going to deal so much damage.
Uh-oh, this is looking very, very bad for Matsumoto and that Prince and the Giant. But we know how deadly that can be.
Yeah, and now he only has 50 seconds to come up with a reply. And it's got to be a big reply. Needs a double Elixir Collector here. What is he going to throw out? This needs to be a big push. There's the 3 Musketeers. That's not the kind of push you need when there's 30 seconds left and you're a tower down and you've done no damage at all.
Okay, so this is looking like a situation where Matsumoto is going to be crumbled down to pieces. The Giant's going to be going for all here. The arrow knocking down the minion gang once again.
Yeah, does use that miner this time aggressively. There's the battering ram, but with 13 seconds left, I don't think he's going to be able to do 2,000 damage. Uses the arrows. The battering ram doesn't connect. And that, as they say, is that. Tongji takes game number 1.
Quite easy there, and Matsumoto, he was going to be breaking the silence, obviously, with that 1 minute 30 second mark. He summoned his Goblin Gang, and thought he was a little bit smart enough to try to get there, but the Dark Prince was there for the side of Tongji on that defensive end, and summoned the Giant, and just getting ready for that push there, but really did not expect that he would summon the Elixir Collector that late in that game, and just really allowed him to play the Prince and the Giant combo on that left side, which made it really, really easy and really, really difficult for the side of Matsumoto to try to defend that out.
Yeah, Matsumoto's deck, to me, doesn't scream the kind of deck that needs to wait for that double elixir time. Because, okay, so Detonation Gaming have taken a timeout here, but that deck really didn't need to wait until that 2 minute mark. I think it would have been much, the 1 minute mark, it would have been much better coming straight out the gates, especially when you have that elixir collector to give you that little bit of a boost. To me, I feel like he should have come out the gates fighting and just, you know, push early on.
We see the usual, what we say, double elixir push cards where you purposely wait for that 1 minute mark to make sure you get a double elixir going, and you're trying to just go for that one all-in attack to make sure you get that tower, at least get it to overtime. But 3 Musketeers, that was his choice, and that's not usually the card that we see that gets us into overtime, gets us into that one last-minute push to try to go for the win all-in-one. It just usually doesn't happen.
Yeah, usually it's something like a Golem,
yeah,
P.E.K.K.A.
Sure.
Cards that are huge, big
Tanky.
damage, very tanky, and you build up behind them.
Yeah.
3 Musketeers is not a card that you build up behind, and especially if Fireball is open, it just ruins them.
I mean, you gotta understand probably what Matsumoto was thinking in his head. It's hard to imagine what he was thinking because usually we don't see that with the 3 Musketeers. Usually you see that, like I said, the Golem. See, even the Giant is a little more viable than that to go for that 1 minute push, but they waited out, and tried to just break the silence of the Goblin Gang. Of course, the Dark Prince was there, and the rest was history.
Yeah, with the Elixir Collector, to me, that screams start right out the gates, because the Elixir Collector gets a lot of value, and especially as we didn't see a Fireball, I think, from Tongji, so he wouldn't have been able to take out that Elixir Collector, even if it was played early, and he would have had a huge advantage going for the rest of the game.
It really was a interesting play by Matsumoto. It's going to be up against Tongji again. Of course, that timeout had been used. Just following the drastic defeat that he faced. Hopefully to bring back his game in game 2. It's going to be his objective here, Matsumoto.
Yeah, I think Tongji just plays a very similar style this time, because he controlled that game beginning to end and showed us truly what Tongji is made of, you know? But we are about to get in to game number 2 here between Matsumoto in blue and Tongji in red. What are we going to see this time?
It's hard to tell. I think the first question we should be asking is, are they going to wait for 1 minute once again?
No, because down comes a Bandit from Tongji. That means we're probably going to see a charge deck, and we see the charge deck once again coming from Matsumoto. Does like using this battering ram. There's the Royal Ghost. Don't see that very often.
Royal Ghost, very, very typical when it comes to just battering out multiple barbarians. And he sees it getting the damage done.
There's another Bandit.
No,
Very quick sight.
No, but
Bandit
it
from
came
the other side,
from Matsumoto this time.
And this time, Matsumoto is going for this very early on, and I think that is the much better choice. The miner there, it has to walk to the tower, it doesn't get transported there. Poison coming down to make sure that the Elixir Collector doesn't get the full value.
Okay, so what does this mean now for Matsumoto? Not really to get the full value out of the Elixir Collector. How can he just defend himself out of this? So the battle ram, really not trying to even get to the other tower, but mostly about Just defending out against the Bandit, and really not much happening here. As you see, the Electro Wizard helping out the Royal Ghost, clear out that unit, trying to defend Al's tower.
Yeah, the Royal Ghost is so good going forward, especially if he can go invisible before dying. No, but does get one hit.
Yep.
It looks like Tongji once again has a very strong advantage in this matchup, especially with the cards we've seen so far. Dart Prince comes in, but the minions just above his head are going to easily make light work of that and do some damage to the tower.
Look at that, Elixir Collector's always accounted for as the poison comes out just automatically as soon as he sees it. And Tongji's going to be there to make sure that Elixir Collector doesn't pump out as much as it could.
Here's a Bandit, and it's going to connect to the tower. That's going to deal so much damage, even with those 2 Musketeers there. Down to 918. Matsumoto is on the ropes right now. Tongji controlling this nice and easy.
Now, Matsumoto summoned those 3 Musketeers after he saw the Bandit being summoned on the other side. So, you got to understand, probably his mindset was to just literally go all or nothing here. And something that we don't usually see out of the Japanese players. You're going to see this game punished right here. The Miner really not being accounted for. Nothing much you can do.
With that poison, the trigger will be about the 200 mark, which will clear it out, especially with the minions once again connecting on the tower on that bottom left-hand side. But it's all or nothing now for Matsumoto. He does need to connect to the tower. He does need to finish it because that tower is getting incredibly low. There's the 3 Musketeers. That 1 Musketeer will take out the Electro Wizard, protecting that 382 tower.
But the Royal Ghost.
But the Royal Ghost, Pekka takes out the other 2 Musketeers.
Yeah.
So this is a very dangerous situation now for Matsumoto. In comes the charge from Tongji.
Okay, but the Bandit does get the charge. Pekka's still left alone.
It does easily make light work of that, and the Pekka will connect onto that
Poison.
tower, but the poison comes down. Miner connects. That is game over. Tongji takes game number 2 and takes set number 1 in incredibly convincing fashion. He played amazingly well.
Southeast Asia, are they on the ropes here? Are they in the situation where they're going to go up and tie up the series? The entire regional clash, when we're talking about just conference division, it could very well go to 4-4, as we mentioned. It required 2 series wins from these guys, from Kicks Gaming, and also just previously earlier from AHQ as well. AHQ got their job done. If Kicks can get this job done here, we might just be able to see just Japan being rivaled out just as even against the Southeast Asian teams.
Yeah, Tongji there just controlled the pace of that game perfectly. Didn't look like he was in trouble. There was one moment where a Bandit connected to a tower.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, maybe that's going to be it. No, he just controlled it nice and easy. Patient defense, doesn't overcommit on the defense, doesn't overcommit on the offense. Always make sure he has a little bit in reserve and just controlled the pace.
I also want to kind of relate back to the fact that Matsumoto summoned the 3 Musketeers at a very critical time when the Bandit was already seen summoned. So he saw the Bandit be summoned, and if he doesn't provide any defense for that, if he doesn't provide any aggro, the Bandit was going to charge in the tower, no problem. But after he saw the Bandit being summoned, he summoned the 3 Musketeers behind the tower. And obviously the Bandit is not going to be able to reach the 3 Musketeers from there. He's going to go right for the tower. And that just got from a fresh tower, nearly fresh tower, down to a 3-digit number. And you know, you're already making these mistakes like that when you're Matsumoto and you just don't know how to fight back after. You've already lost so much and there's not much fighting back. Just allow for a nice predicament.
Maybe in Matsumoto's defense, maybe he played that card just as the Bandit went down. So he was already positioning it. He lets go, it plays, the Bandit connects.
It wasn't quite late though. That's why I'm making this complaint here, but I feel like Matsumoto had the clear time frame to really just react to that properly. I feel like that 3 Musketeer was a little bit, fat-fingered in a way, because I feel like if he just waited and just kind of saw what was going on, I think he just missed the Bandit completely, or the defense was really just wanted to go for just an all-in push on one other side, and didn't really show either, and that's why he ended up losing this first game here.
Yeah, but Tongji controlled that match perfectly. I think even if he defended that Bandit perfectly, he still would have lost. Because the tower at that point when that split happened was still at 1,200. It wasn't a fresh tower at that point.
It was a little bit higher. I would have to believe.
I think it was about 1,000. All right, let's say
we'll
1,300.
We'll get to the replay.
When we see the replay.
Well, there's 1,200, 1,300. we're gonna see, but I'm telling you, but there was many mistakes being made by Matsumoto, and I feel like it's still something that very well could have been avoided. Something that could have made it a little bit better for his side and try to get a win for his first game. And I feel like those mistakes, of course, your opponent does well. That makes it harder for you. But when you make your own mistake, that just makes it easier for your opponent to win the games. And that's what I think what happened here.
Yeah, Tongji, I gotta say, like, if you want to see textbook example on how to control the whole pace of a game, if you want to see how to, measure defenses, Tongji's play there would be an amazing learning resource to learn positioning, to learn what trades well with what.
Okay, we're going to do replay very, very soon. So Simon and I will be able to look at what the tower HP count was.
I already know I'm right. I'm already
right,
settling
let's look at
up. Okay, so this is game 1.
Yep.
We see the arrows come in there, and Tongji just controls this. The knight and the giant just make light work of that tower.
Oh, they missed it. They missed it. This is the game 2 where the bandit already came through.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
382.
that bandit did not do as much damage as you're thinking of. That tower was already pretty low, and he finishes it off right there with the poison. There was nothing Matsumoto could do at that point.
Okay.
That tower was too low. He needed a miracle. The opponent's towers are too high. I don't think he played terribly. I think he just made 1 or 2 iffy decisions. Like, that deck, was it the best deck to use at this point?
And the Elixir Collector, I think he just held on to that a little bit longer as well. I think the first time he used the Elixir Collector, obviously the poison came down. You're not going to get anywhere close to a full effect of what the Elixir Collector eventually could do. But you just saw what happened there. He summoned the Elixir Collector first time, was wiped away basically almost to nothing by poison. And he summoned it the second time around, the third time around. He just kept with it because he knew that all he needed to do was to get the 3 Musketeers out. In order to do that, he had to get extra elixirs, which was through the Elixir Collector. So I feel like he was a little bit stubborn to the initial strategy that he had, and once he found that it wasn't working as effective as what it could have been, I think he should have. Matsumoto should have a little bit changed it up and adapted to his playstyle to make sure he has some backup plans to other ways to win out a game. But I feel like he just stuck to his plan A and never really got rid of that, even if that was the wrong choice in the end.
Maybe he should have tried to bait the poison elsewhere, then drop the Elixir Collector. But when you have the Elixir Collector, you kind of do need to keep playing it. Even if it gets fireballed instantly, even if it gets rocketed, you still get trades. Like, I think a poison, you still end up kind of even. If I remember correctly, the way it works, you're about even, and it got its HP reduced quite a few months ago. Before that, the poison would not have done anything to the Elixir Collector. So we saw poison being used against Elixir Collector. We saw domination, I think, by Tongji. Just perfect control over the game. But we are about to get into our 2v2 match.
Yeah, 2v2 match should be ready very, very soon here. After Tongji did pick up that win for Kicks. Let's see what they can bring to 2v2. Pierre-Meki subbing in for, I believe, Lewis, who was a little bit sick today. Couldn't appear on the spot here.
Yeah, Pierre-Meki is down 2 sets, 4 losses there for 4 games. But his partner, Ku, 6 wins and 5 losses. Ku is definitely the 2v2 specialist for this team, and Lewis as well is a 2v2 specialist. Like, that is their 2v2 core. Now that Lewis is sick and Pierre-Meki is standing in, is that really going to affect their 2v2?
You see the record line for Kicks here. 3 wins and 7 losses on the 2v2 for The Rock. One of the 2 players that will be playing for Kicks, hoping to bring a win. Dylan's going to be here. 3 wins and 3 losses, so an even scoreline in terms of the 2v2. Dylan is more used to the 1v1s. We've seen him more on that occasion, but 2v2 this time around with The Rock, hoping to make that chemistry count.
I want to make so many WWE jokes right now about The Rock, but I'm not going to. We see the ban cards come out. Balloon and Tornado. Tornado, the staple ban here. And we have seen a lot of balloon bans as well, because they can be very, very effective in 2v2.
Especially with the Lava Hound. Lava Balloon combo now no longer a secret to all the users out there. Just means that that being knocked away probably will limit the Lava Hound from multiple instances that, it's not going to be the primary pick going onto this 2v2 competition.
Yeah, there are so many. We've talked so many times about the way these bans actually affect the 2v2.
Right.
I think at this point most teams are making decks without Tornado, and when Tornado does get through, they're like, oh, all right, well, we have a deck for that anyway. I think most of the preparation now in 2v2 is preparing for decks without Tornado. They're making sure that they have a strategy there that is tornado-less so that, you know, they're prepared for these games.
We're now reaching upon the end of week 4, and for the as many games have we played throughout the 4 weeks, so many matches, I don't think we have many 2v2s where there was a tornado open.
The only time it ever happens where both teams, when it's announced, when the ban's announced, they both look like, wait, you didn't ban Tornado? Like, they look at each other and go, oh, well, okay, let's do this. That's the only time we ever see Tornado not banned. I think it's usually once or twice a week we see a 2v2 where no Tornado is banned. And out of 8 games, 2 games don't get it banned. I'd say that that's about it, 2, roughly.
Sure, and it's really that kind of thinking where, you know, obviously the other team will ban it for me, so we don't really have to think we have to ban it out. And once they find out that they ban out something else and expect the other opponents to ban out the Tornado, and they think the same thing as you do, it becomes an awkward situation where the Tornado's not banned out entirely, and just allows that double Tornado for both of your teammates to make sure they have it for the defensive end. And we've seen that get quite messy, the way that no offense really has a effective time in the lane.
Yeah, we can see that the Rock does like his balloons. I was thinking about a Rock joke there as well, and I just can't think of one. I'm giving up tonight. I'll save it for another time.
There you go. I'm sure Kicks will be back to play again once you're back on the cast, Simon. And you can see that once again. Golem here for the side of Ku. Likes to use that along with the most typical support units.
Double Prince, Electro Wizard, Inferno Dragon.
Mega Minion. You know all the gist here. Talking about what that means when you're trying to just support the Golem as it pushes forward, takes all the shots in the world. All the other units behind it just try to speed it up. Also trying to put the damage onto the opponent tower as well.
I really want to see a match where Dark Prince and Prince are banned, because that's taking out a core of 80% of the decks we see in 2v2 during this tournament. I think banning both of those cards would open up so many different strategies, but then you got to leave the Tornado if you do it.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous. We've seen what happens with Tornadoes in 2v2.
Yeah.
You can bolster your own attack. You can bolster your defense. Like, Tornado is such a versatile card where we've seen maybe the Wizard will clear up the push that you've got, but you Tornado it, you pull it over into the opposite lane, and suddenly there's no defense.
Yeah.
But I think we're just about to get into this 2v2 between Detonation Gaming and Kicks. Let's get into it.
We're going to get into it. Kicks and Detonation Gaming. Detonation Gaming did suffer a loss in that 1v1. Wants to bring it right back with the 2v2 here, Pyramid and Ku. Instead of losing Ku, which we're more accustomed to. It's not going to be appearing today due to sickness. Going to be up against the Rock and Dylan. For the side of Kicks, it's going to be up at the top, the Japanese side. Detonation Gaming at the bottom.
Yeah, so both teams now kind of just, I don't know whether they're waiting for the double elixir mark or if they're just like, let's wait until the opponent makes the first move. And the opponent has made the first move. There it is, Golem and Dark Prince. Golem and Prince on the other side. The way this trades usually is the Prince will win out over the Dark Prince.
Does the AoE damage over time.
There's a P.E.K.K.A. there as well. There's the Inferno Dragon on the defense for both sides. There is a P.E.K.K.A. here for Detonation Gaming, which is going to do a lot of work. But Detonation Gaming's Golem did die first. But there's so many units that are sitting inside that poison that they're all going to die. Down goes the Prince.
The Poison trying to finish everything off here, but Electro Wizard just going to get a few hits before it dies out.
Yep, I'd say the way it's looking right now, this is going to be an incredibly back and forth game. Both teams playing very similar decks. And there we go. There's the opposite way around this time for Kicks, who are going for that Dark Prince and Golem instead of the Prince and Golem that they did the first cycle. There's a lightning spell used there, taking out the tower. The Inferno Dragon is going to go, but the Rage Potion's put down. The Poison is there. The Golem does connect with the tower. 1 hit, 2 hits. The explosion damage comes in. Poison still going. Down to 1,155. That's incredible. But this push from Detonation Gaming is incredibly strong. Double Prince, the Inferno Dragon, the Mega Minion. Will this connect to a tower? The answer is no.
Trying to provide all the defense to make sure they are set and ready to go on defense, and Kicks did a good job on that occasion. Trying to make sure they provide the fire back when the time is right. See the Golem being summoned on both sides again.
The P.E.K.K.A makes such a difference here for Detonation Gaming in the defense. There's a Rage, there's a Graveyard used. Interesting, and a freeze. That Golem just walks right past absolutely everything. And once again connects on the tower. Kicks with a massive advantage at this point.
You see it right there as the freeze happens, and also just talking about the Graveyard being handled quite well with the poison.
Lightning coming in does take out a lot of hit points out of that push. The P.E.K.K.A continues marching forward, but the Inferno Dragon will easily take that down. Mega Minion versus guards, Mega Minion versus Mega Minion. Will that Knight go through? But he's going to get completely destroyed by the tower. 394 left on that bottom right-hand side. Both Golems placed on the bridge.
We know that Kicks does have their poison. He's going to use it offensively here, so we're going to see who gets the first strike, as that will be the end of it, as we see Kicks. That last Golem push, 357. Not much of a scoff to really go at here, because we know that's going to be relatively easy to take because they did have that poison open. So offensive use right there for that last push to get the victory, and Kicks are up 1-0 here.
Yeah, Detonation Gaming really did have to make that final push count. They put the Golem at the bridge, but unfortunately for them, Kicks did exactly the same thing, and that tower was so low that that Golem was easily going to take it. Kicks take it in overtime in sudden death, and they're 1-up.
And what are we looking at here? We're looking at Detonation Gaming 1 game away from losing it out in a blowout.
Yeah, really wouldn't have expected it. Detonation Gaming have kind of been on a bit of a bounce back lately.
But they have been the weakest, one of the weaker teams in Japan, starting from week 1. But, you know, we're looking back at here. Like you said, Simon, it's important to notice that they have been firing back. They have been kind of uprise when it comes to their form, kind of rising in the ways that they can rival the other Japanese teams and still call themselves a premier team in this tournament. But this is against a Kicks team that really hasn't looked that great over the course of the past couple of weeks. Of course, we haven't seen them outside the regional divisions that they had, but in this conference division, still haven't really shown us too much. But now we're looking at this team against Detonation Gaming looking very, very good, and it might just take a very quick series away from Detonation Gaming from Japan.
Yeah, Kicks are the second ranked team in SEA, and they're currently 2-2. So if they win this, they'll be joint in the table with King's Own Dragon X at 3-2.
Yeah.
So they're not weak by any stretch of the word. They are playing really, really solid games. 2-2, you're solid. 50% win ratio. That's kind of what you need at this point to go forward.
There you go, and see if they can extend this over to a winning record. It's going to be very dependent here, and also more important for the entire region as a whole. Southeast Asia can come right at even, toe-to-toe with Japan. With a win right here, could get them into a 4-4 win record, which would be very important for these guys.
And it sends a very strong message to their opponents next week, like, do not take us lightly. We will dominate you if you play anything like you played in week 3.
Hey, look at this. This is what they're saying. If they're going to pull even with Japan, 4-4, they're going into next week telling Korea that what you experienced in week 3 might just happen again in week 5 against us now. And that's a scary composition to go with.
Yeah, in that position, Korea just would be easily classed as the weakest region we have.
Definitely, and I think week 5 will tell us the biggest story of what the power rankings are, especially between the regions. It's hard to tell between Japan and Southeast Asia right now. We still think Japan might be just a little bit stronger altogether, but still that 1 and 2 is a little bit shady, a little bit gray in the area. But once we get the week 5 results out of the way, where if Korea does not perform and does not show up, and Southeast Asia does exactly the same thing that Japan did in week 3 against them, we can get a very clear 1 and 2 and a much clearer with number 3 in the rankings.
Yeah, it'd be rock, paper, scissors, but the rock is actually made out of paper mache kind of thing,
Oh
you
no.
know?
Even the scissor can defeat that one.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, it'd be so close, but then the third place is so weak that it's just a two-horse race. Nobody likes a two-horse race in terms of regions. In terms of teams, it's anybody's game, let's be honest.
And you know
But they are waiting for this double elixir time.
exactly, as you're talking about the horse race, we might get this on here. Just all in push. Double elixir time. Nothing summoned yet? Eh?
Maybe they're just going to tie this one out. We're going to be sitting here for another 4 minutes of absolutely nothing happening. Nobody wants to make the first move here purely because he will reveal a little bit too much. 15 seconds into double elixir time, nothing being played, and we're going down into 20 seconds. Where are the units? Have their hands froze? What is going on?
They might have used a free spell on their hands.
But then it's both teams. 30 seconds left. Who is
Wow,
going to
what?
make the first move? This is like a
Oh my
standoff
word.
at high noon. Nobody wants to pull the trigger. There we go.
That's an early golem though. And a Pekka to just counter right back.
Everything's
Wow.
being summoned now. We're going to see after there's a rage potion. The golem trying to get through, but the Pekka is going to make light work of that. The Inferno Dragon at the back connected with the Mega Minion. Does get a few hits on the tower. The Prince almost got there, just barely missing, and I'm having a heart attack.
It's a weird situation where we have here right here. Let's see how they work this through. See once again, typical double Prince right behind the golem of Kicks.
Yeah, the Golem of Detonation Gaming does get frozen there,
Yeah.
and that means this Golem can go to town on that tower.
Still getting multiple hits before it does get exploded, and down to 1070 now. The couple of explosions that will come its way, it's going to be down to 827.
Yeah, and there's still a strong defense. Will they be able to stop this push? That
Wow,
is a
all
lot
in.
of elixir push right there.
They have like something like a rocket right here. This would be perfect. But that's
In
for
comes the
time being.
graveyard of poison as well.
Okay, so poison used on seemingly defense here, but I think it's going to be offense poison as well, just a little bit.
Yeah, there was both offensive poison and defensive poison, and goodness, Kicks Gaming has a huge advantage at this point. Detonation Gaming have to keep up the pressure to try and defend from the front, but will they be able to?
And going to be everything summoned out here.
There's a freeze potion, just allowing that golem to walk through absolutely everything, but the Inferno Dragons will connect onto it. That's going to clean it up well before it gets to the tower.
But
look at the
857.
damage at the top.
Yep, the top has been damaged quite heavily there. 751 finally cleared out. Now we're going to see Detonation Gaming. Can they just push in here for the win? Because going for the offensive poison, trying to make sure they get the most out of this one, and still looking like it has been fully clear. Everything is still on the Electro Wizard, the pesky one. Really having a hard time to get rid of that one.
Incoming poison there from Detonation Gaming, making sure there is nothing coming in this push. Oh, it's so close to connecting. This is looking really bad now for Kicks. They were in such a commanding position for so long, and they kind of lost it right now. Pekka comes down once again to stop that golem with the Inferno Dragon there as well. There's a freeze!
Okay.
How
so
much
this is
damage
important
will
here.
this guy do?
743 doesn't
One.
do. Yeah, it just explodes. It doesn't even do a single damage before it explodes. So 294. I think if he can just hold out this push here, but this is going to be very difficult to push out here.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to be possible. They do activate the King Tower, but it doesn't matter. That
it's done.
tower is down. Detonation Gaming taking game number 2.
It's definitely not over quite yet. Kicks. It's going to be led up to a game 3. Can get to one more game, and the winner could be decided right here. Of course, Kicks only have to win one more game. That's it. That's all they have to do to finish out the series. While Kicks, Detonation Gaming, they're trying to just bring it right back, get back to an ace match. Which would very much see that 1 minute before one more deck composition for one more game between these two teams. See who's the winner is going to be.
Yeah, the question is whether the Rock can lay a smackdown in this final game and win it out for Kicks Gaming.
Yeah, it's going to be very important here. See what they can do. Still looking at Detonation Gaming off that win. Be feeling pretty good about their chances going to this game 3, thinking that we lost game 1 obviously, but game 2, if we had lost that one, the series would be over. But the series is still ongoing because we kept this into a Game 3 situation. We can bring it back to a Set 3 where the ace match 1v1 could decide it all once again.
Yeah, Kicks had such an advantage, and it just kind of fell away from them. Like, I want to say they ran out of steam, but I think it was because that freeze is a very expensive spell.
4 elixirs.
Yeah, and if you're not taking the tower after you freeze there, you're leaving so much defensive potential that can turn into an offensive push. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's so much defense built there that's just been frozen. They can continue to add to it. Once that push has been cleaned up, that is a huge amount of elixir going forward.
And literally, you're missing out that extra 4 elixirs gets you away from an extra Infernal Dragon, for example. You can't summon that. Obviously, 4 elixir can do so many things on defense. Electro Wizard, you can't summon that extra.
Dark Prince.
Dark Prince. Anything you talk about 4 elixir being doesn't seem too big, but when there's an additional defense force can stop a rush coming in from your opponents, that 4 elixir that's being used on the offensive end with the freeze has been really punished when it comes to Kicks really not having any more defensive efforts after that.
Yeah, no one's waiting anymore. But first thing, that P.E.K.K.A. is in front of the Golem, which means it's going to take a lot of damage from that Knight. Ideally, you want that P.E.K.K.A. behind the Golem so that it's protected, but it's not going to be protected here. In comes that Rage. How much work are they going to do with this Rage Potion right now?
So again, 2 elixirs being used just to get that P.E.K.K.A. across, the Golem across, but it's going to be more about how long they can be stopped here. See the Golem still looking like they're trying to make their rush in, but Destination Gaming not getting the best out of that first rush coming in.
Yeah, Kicks got a lot better from there, 1,220 to 2,375, but we do have the double Dark Prince, Mega Minion, and Electro Wizard that survived that defense, and suddenly this is dangerous for Kicks because that Golem is going to go down long before he even crosses the bridge.
Electro Wizard has to be found an answer to because that's what Kicks has had the toughest time trying to defend against because it was constantly slowing down and stunning out his units, and really had a hard time trying to counter back right against that because Electro Wizard, if you let it stay alive for a long time, there's not much you can do.
Yeah, even though that Golem was at half HP crossing the bridge, the Golemites managed to do a ton of damage and got that tower down to 818. I think that was about 300-400 damage, which is really, really good at this point. Kicks, once again, have this advantage going into the final minute. Will they be able to hold it this time? Because they had it last time and they lost it. Will they be able to do it?
Kicks right here, they're just summoning the P.E.K.K.A. on the left, but the Golem on the right side thinking that they want to go all in on the right. They just gave up on the left tower. It's important that they defend out, though. That's the most important thing. Can they defend out? Trying to see the poison
Golem there. And they're not defending whatsoever on that top right. The race is on. Who will win this race? Look at that top right tower. Top left tower goes down. Both towers are down. So we still have 30 seconds left.
3 crowns.
Whose push is going to go for the 3 crown here? It does look as though Destination Gaming have an advantage here.
Okay, the Golems are not being stopped right now. The guards trying to do
the
their
Inferno
best part.
Dragon did connect there, but the Electro Wizard dropped down.
Okay, the Electro Wizard trying to get that down as well. The Inferno Dragon now going to connect, and there's no stopping it out. The freeze to make sure everything does connect. And Kicks ends this series all in pop here as they do get that win over Destination Gaming.
Yeah, and you can see what it means to them. They came into this week 0-2, 0-3, and now they win 2 back-to-back games against very, very strong opponents. Wow.
And in the end, what do we get in the end? We're trying to see what Japan and Southeast Asia, how do they compare? We're going to get a 4-4 record between the 2 regions, and that just means Japan and Southeast Asia, even on the weekend. And what that means for Korea, they're going to be right under Southeast Asia as going into week 5.
Game with the only team that didn't, I think, drop a game against Southeast Asia.
Yep.
And then everyone else just kind of like didn't continue that streak from week 3.
Yeah, the 4 wins that Japan got all together throughout the weekend, 2 of them, 50% of it, just came just from game with, and really goes to show that game with has been one of the strongest teams right now in the tournament, at least in Japan. And right now, Destination Gaming having a hard time against Kicks and even against AHQ 5 Gaming. I thought that would be a relatively easy game for these guys and to knock off one of the bottom teams we have in the standings. But HQ does pull it off, another win for them, and 4-4 on the day, 4-4 on the weekend. And gonna see, interestingly, how Week 5 translates that action when Southeast Asia is looking like the favorites now going up against Korea.
Look at this replay. Look how much was left over from defending that freeze golem. There's so much here, and that's how they managed to win. Freeze potion is a good card to use when you're ready to put that final smackdown onto the tower. But they used it a bit early. The golem dies before it does too much damage, and suddenly they have a lot of pushback. And here we see the golem. Both teams now decide, are we going to trade? Are we going to win? The Inferno Dragon here is key. As we can see, there is still the golem there as well, and the Dark Prince. But this Inferno Dragon cleans up all the defensive units that were played, and then it just reconnects. Freeze, game over. Incredible. Incredible play there by Kicks. They showed that they are not a weak team. Detonation Gaming were just destroyed this week.
And really, it was an absolute blowout. It was a 1v1, gone, and 2v2 almost had it in their bag, trying to get it back to the ace match, but gone as well. But that just means that when you came and extend the series down to the third set, which is basically the ace match that will decide everything for the end, it just means that Detonation Gaming were just the steps below what we saw out of kind of Kicks in the end.
Kicks played incredibly well. I gotta say, and Kicks do now tie up with King's Own Dragon X at 3-2.
Yeah.
We're gonna see them next week in Korea.
Yeah.
So we get to say hi to everyone.
Hey, so you know what this is though for Southeast Asia? A team like Kicks has the same record on the day as King's Own Dragon X.
And King's Own Dragon X finished their regional 3-0.
So right now they're just an evenly matched up team, and we just don't know what to expect. Let's get on to the interview to see what the winning team had to say.
To the post-match interview.
好，那我们接下来先恭喜一下 Kicks Team。
First of all, congratulations to Kicks team.
先来问一下童子好了，对，这一段时间没有上来打了这个1v1，而且还直接抓死了这个马祖莫腾，来分享一下自己现在的想法。
Can you share with us your experience with the 1v1? Go ahead.
因为我在比赛之前都知道他是应该会用这个三枪和木源的排除，然后我 ban 了一个冰人，然后他也 ban 了这个茅房，然后我就知道他会出这个三枪，然后我就直接带三法术去克制他。
So at the beginning, I knew that he was going to use the 3 Musketeers. So we actually knew his strategy. That is why we banned the cards, and then this is why I've used this way to attack him.
OK， 那再来就是问 Dylan 跟 The Rock 这个2v2，哇，被对方抓了1分回来之后，怎么样调整？
Okay, how about the 2v2, Dylan and Rock? You were 1 set behind, and then how did you get back?
其实第二场我们也是有发现，就是我们小小的失误，就是大家看到也是打得蛮接近的比赛，对，就是很紧张。在我们发现了失误以后，然后就是在第3场马上调回来，对，但不是太大的问题，就是。
So at the first set, we were a bit nervous, and then of course you all saw that we made a mistake. But then quickly we reinformed, and then we tried to make some changes. So afterwards, we got it back.
好，那接下来你们有没有对哪一支队伍特别要防范的？
So going forward, is there any teams that you would really want to be careful with?
接下来比赛就是下一场，就是我们大家都会到韩国去比赛。对，就是要大家有看就注意到，我们应该是会比较注意，就是那个 Explode Master， 因为他都喜欢一直跳舞啊。对对对，感觉蛮影响对手的，所以对我们有在注意，对，就是看到这些，然后会再去做更深的调查这样。
Okay, so going forward, since the whole team will be going to South Korea, so what we will have in mind is the export master, because everybody knows the strategy is a bit different. So this is what we'll be aware of.
其实你刚刚你第一轮赢的时候跳的也蛮高的啦，对。
Well, even for you, actually, you were doing quite a different strategy than we expected, right?
也是想解释一下，因为我们的比赛就是感觉是2v2出了比较大的问题，就最后就是直接上了一个默契比较好，就是我跟德感觉就是配合的比较得到，然后就很顺利，也是这周做准备比较多，就是强定的在2v2，所以也很开心，就顺利直接2-0拿下比赛。
So to explain a bit, that was because we noticed that we needed to prepare more than before, and by doing that, we actually that's how we achieved today's win.
好，那我们再次恭喜 Kicks Team 本周1胜1负坐收。
So again, congratulations, Kicks team.
好，接下来我们来看一下。
So we're back to us after that interview went very well for Kicks team. Kind of feeling happy about they picked up the win against Detonation Gaming, now brought the series back to even 4-4. We keep mentioning it. It just means that Japan and Southeast Asia are technically even at this moment.
Yeah, and they even mentioned that they're scared of, well, they're concerned about the Expo
More
Master.
concerned.
More concerned about
Sure.
the Expo Master.
That's
But
important.
today's results, a complete destruction of Japan here by Southeast Asia. AHQ Esports Club did beat Fav Gaming, even with a rematch on Game 3 in that 2v2. And Kicks Gaming detonated Detonation Gaming here. Throwing out all the puns today. But Kicks did easily win against Detonation Gaming.
And what does that mean towards the total standings of where these teams lie? GameWith are still on top, very, very expected, with a 6 wins and 1 loss record. Brandon Esports, they're going to be the only ones to feel like they're the next best team, having only lost once, but won all 4 times so far. But after that, it's going to be mostly about Japan. And a little bit of Korea as well. Kings on Dragon X are still there up on top, but that record could very well change when we get to the next week's matches.
Yeah, and Kicks moving up into about 5th place here. That's incredible movement. And AHQ Esports Club was sitting at the very bottom of this table until this week, and they've gone leapfrogged Sandbox, OGN Enters, Chaos Theory, and Detonation Gaming to come up as joint 7th place.
Really interesting because OPG Skeleton have the same record as they do. OPG Skeleton have been a little more disappointing in the way they couldn't win out the games against the Japanese teams, whereas AHQ Esports has now shown they had won 2 games. That's literally what it is.
Yeah. They lost all their regional games, and they even said, like, we need to prepare more. So we've been preparing a lot for these games, and it shows. They beat the Japanese teams 2-0, one of the only teams to beat 2-0 against a Japanese team.
And the Korean teams, they can win out against other Korean teams. But against the foreign teams so far, we've seen that wasn't the success rate of what we kind of expected out from the Korean teams. And now Week 5 will be the most interesting, might be the most interesting week that we had so far in Clash Royale League Asia, because we get to see Southeast Asia and now Korea. Beginning of the season, we would have said Korea is stronger than Southeast Asia just day in and day out. We would have said that. But now as the weeks progress on and now we get to see this power of Southeast Asia now rivaling out Japan. We have no idea what to expect.
Yeah, and with Korea having 2 weeks basically off now, like, they're going to come into next week super relaxed, I would hope they are super prepared. They have so many games to look at, so many games to research their opponents. They should be much better next week.
I mean, they can't put the same performance as they did last week, because it will be an utter embarrassment to see them at the bottom of the bottom when it talks to Clash Royale League Asia. But that will happen if Southeast Asia really just dumpster these guys once again. But we're going to just close that game. That's going to be the end of the coverage for this weekend's action for the Clash Royale League Asia with me and Simon. We are very proud to present you guys the action once again. We'll be back next Friday to join in the action. We'll be back with Southeast Asia versus Korea here in OGN for the next week's segment.